I was telling everyone I don't feel a need to go to Chicago. I don't know why I'm going. Right? Have you guys, so many of you heard this? For me, and it just I don't know. Something wasn't there. It wasn't right. Nothing with James. Nothing with you guys. There was just no. I don't know. At the time, I wasn't getting confirmation on anything. And I wanted to blame it on, I just came back from South Africa, and my mother has me doing city tax with this new house we moved into. So I had a lot of excuses why not to be interested. But when crunch time came, I was supposed to fly, Wednesday? Would I go to the airport, right? So figured by Sunday, Monday, I really didn't know what I was doing. And I've learned to trust Mazel more than anything. Trusting Hashem, and I was convinced I wasn't coming. So it's like, but it's crazy, right? In South Africa, one talk didn't go good, only one, and it was when I walked into the house. I told Jacques, I don't feel so good about this one, and it ended up being a disaster. It was a bit of a sabotage. It was the kind of thing where I should have said, "Nice seeing you guys. I gotta go," before it even started. I never should have walked in there. They weren't interested. It was just a mismatch, a complete mismatch. And I got like a kind of a mazel revelation beforehand, and I thought, oh, don't be judgmental. Don't take this to heart that you saw something you shouldn't have seen, and give them, maybe judge with merit. It'll go good. In the end, it was horrible. So I thought to myself, I was right, but it's kind of dangerous to walk along those thin lines. So I get to the airport on Wednesday. And it was one of those things. I'm feeling this is not happening. Every station I got to, they were looking at everybody funny with the double looks, and nothing was going. And I'm trying to place the events now so long ago. We got on the plane, and I didn't. I wanted to have like my headphones, and I had my notes and some books, and I went to go sit in my seat. I was sitting next to a religious woman. And her husband says, would you mind switching with me? I'm sitting back there. I want to sit next to my wife. I thought, okay, yeah, no, obviously. I'm not going to take your seat next to your wife. So I go back into his seat. Now I'm in the emergency aisle. And there was nowhere to put my bags. So I'm like, okay, that's a little strange. So the stewardess takes my bags and puts them somewhere else. Long story short, nothing went right. Nothing went right. And we went to the hotel. They took us to a 5-star hotel at 4 a.m. And then I was up all night. So then I got some sleep in the morning, and then had good meals in the hotel. They said be in the lobby at 7 o'clock. They called it 4 o'clock. Be in the lobby at 3 o'clock in the morning. So now I'm up again. Thank you very much. And up all night again. And then they got in the lobby. They said no, 4 o'clock. Okay, now it's 4 a.m. And I'm calling James 1,000 times, saying like, yeah, right. So then we get to the airport at 4:30ish, and they said it's canceled. So I'm saying, you got to fly me out ASAP. I got to be there. They said, we can take you to Moscow. I'm like, oh. Like, okay, how do I want to go to Moscow that bad, So then they were saying, James finds a plane at 4:59. I'm like, it was like 4:20 at that time. I said, I have to go to this, whatever it was now. The gate's closed. So at the end of the day, they scheduled it for Saturday night. So I went home, had a real kind of strange Shabbos, and I made it. Came back. And then I had security issues when I came back on Saturday because I had a bit of an attitude problem, as you can imagine. And bless her heart, right? Yes. Bless her heart. She says, you from Israel? Yes. How long have you lived here? 15 years. Why don't you speak Hebrew? Not in the mood. She says, well, why not? Now I'm thinking, how do you explain I speak Reuven and Zohar-Ease? I don't speak true Hebrew. I speak Yeshivish and my kids. And I'm not in the mood to talk to you in Hebrew. I'm a shtickle moron man mode. I'm a bit upset. I don't even believe I'm going to be flying out. And you want to know why? I couldn't answer the question. So she says, well, you're going to have to wait here for a little while. That's it. So I'm thinking like, okay. I said, look, I said, you want to know the truth? I'm a little upset. I don't even know if I'm going to be flying. So I got real nasty with her. She says, I don't work for United. You can wait here for a while. So then I thought, okay, I'm this close to just going nuts, just making ill-advised jokes or something. So finally, I got on the plane or through the security check and got on board, and I saw that things were going to go. But the point is, I never got confirmation on that first flight, and you can look back and you can see all the signs. That I'm one step away from blaming the Mossad and CIA on this one, but whatever it was, that plane was not going to fly. Like the stewardesses and the workers on board, none of it made sense. They were not working on that plane going out. So my mazel message to start things off is if you get weird vibes, go with it. If you're not getting confirmation, it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense. And we lived it. And so my fears were proven. For why. I mean, now it makes sense. Now I'm here. Like Saturday night and traveling throughout the night and this morning, it made sense. And I had my notes come together, and there was confirmation from above. But man, that confirmation wasn't there until it came down. So I think that's the Mazel message to start things off. Is Mazel is real, Shkacha Pratis is real, divine providence, and you need to learn to trust it. All right. With that said, where do you guys want to start? Any takers from the things that I mentioned? Anyone?
Yeah. Wrong call. But that'd be selfish.
You want to start with the roll call?
Yeah.
All right. I found this on Shabbos. This is the next book I want to translate. Yeah, it's very, very good. Wait, now let's ask me to sign in. Hold on.
A lot of people, 10 concurrent users online and a lot of chats. Yeah, sorry. We'll be in the shop, but...
Get back.
Is that okay? Pam is here. Pam Rogers, Loretta, Malek.
So we're going to do the Sanhedrin one also. 'Cause I'll use my Facebook images that I just posted.
Juliet, Dave Tuttle, Navarra, Juliet Navarra. But we actually would prefer not for people to be on the Wi-Fi because we're streaming.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Is that why it's slowed down? It's taking a while to load.
Oh, we're uploading it.
I might be slowing you down. Facebook's pretty heavy.
Okay. It could also be because it's on the...
So let me turn this. Let me try my phone.
it's actually not 5G.
I want to read the actual text. That's one.
Are you going to be frequenting that?
No, I'm going to do these two texts and then we're going to go on.
Right.
Assuming that I can bring them up. It's going pretty slow. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a book I saw on. Sometimes I find in my book collection I have books I never even knew I had. So I found this great book from the Ramchal called, I think, Sheva Sharim, the Seven Gates. And you guys are familiar with Derech Hashem, the Way of God? So it's really like the good version of Derech Hashem. I mean, Derech Hashem's all right. But here he really gives you through these seven gates Judaism. I mean, but not the religion, just like the spirituality of Torah Judaism. So, in the last gate, it's about the redemption. And I saw this great thing. It says, Tikkun HaGerim, the repair of the Gerim. So obviously my radar went up when I saw that. And before I went to the airport, I took this picture and put it up on Facebook. So I'll read it. Ne'emar b'sefer Tikkunim Chadashim. It says in a famous work from the Ramchal, Tikkunim Chadashim, which is the Ramchal's new Zohar that he wrote. V'im tomar matai yitkuno hagerim. If you want to ask the question, when will the gerim finally receive their tikkun and be fixed? Ela la'atid labo, in the future to come. Kamosha Kasuf, as it says in the Torah, if you guys want to write this down, Isaiah 54:15. I don't have the Nakudot here, but I think it says, Mi gar itcha, who dwells or who fears you, if it's the one tundra. Alecha yipul, on you they'll be brought down. Mi gar itcha, ba'aniyoscha yipul itcha ba'ashiruscha. So who will dwell with you in your servitude? They'll bring you down with your wealth. It's a verse in Isaiah. I'm not so sure of the exact whatever, but Shahari Bizman She's Oirer Sharish HaKadosh. That behold, in the time that there's an arousal or awakening in the holy root to strengthen in the world, there will return and gather to you all of Israel and all of those that, here's your word, chaver, chaverim, that they'll attach in you. And all of them will be made klal echad, one thing. Tikkun shel hakol, it'll be the repair of everything. Aval ad shelo yitukon tikkun zeh, but while this is not fixed, lo yischasku hagerim klal, that while this is not happening, the gerim are not grabbing or strengthened at all. So I guess we have to say, if the gerim are grasping, then we're in that time that the holy root is being aroused, and that is a sign of the end, and that means the gerim are attaching to Israel. So, and that's one of the last stages of redemption. The very next stage is the building of Jerusalem. So it's a pretty good one, I think.
Yeah,
Real good.
and he's got to be using primordial root there. You know what I mean? Supernal root.
I mean,
You know.
yeah, that's what he's saying. The real, like, well, and I don't know if you haven't read the translations of the Gaon that we're doing, but you certainly have. When he's talking about that holy root that the Hanukkah Maccabees, Russ and I work on this. We're translating the Midrash Shlomo, the Vilna Gaon. It's Vilna Gaon Zionism, and there's a principle that the Gaon uses a lot, is that in the Hanukkah miracle, where the Maccabees won over the Greeks. We haven't worked it out yet because we're still translating it. We're about halfway done. I'm still trying to formulate in my mind how it works. But there's, on a simple level, the holiness was strengthened, and that's what gave the Maccabees the power to take out the Greeks. I'm not going to say more than that because, like I said, we're still working it out. I mean, I have notes at home, but we're not there yet. It's only halfway done with the book. But that's what he's talking about. That holy root will be strengthened at the end of time, and again, we'll have this. God willing, we'll have this formula worked out by the end of the year. I mean, we could probably, if we talked about it, we could do it, and maybe it's something to talk about later on. But anyways, that's the
next week.
Huh?
We're gonna have it worked out next week.
That's right. That's probably that's the bottom line. So this is hot off the press. This just came in after Shabbos. All right. So now I'm going to read another image that I put up. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to do a little funny here. You guys are aware of my videographer and my videos, the eccentric British guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so yeah, he got me published in the Jerusalem Post on Friday. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but I'll go ahead and read it. This is my ideas, but Amnon wrote it in his unique British flavor. So I'll read it to you. The fourth family. Now this is in response to Shlomo Riskin, who wants to basically convert anybody that has a check and willing to sign to solve Israel's problems. And they want to do everything in the world but go ger. You know, it's like, and this is my problem with everybody in the world that doesn't get ger. You know, you don't have to go ger, but stop using every solution in the book, you know, to try to cheat and make it, you know, basically ripping off ger. Just call ger. That's why the Torah has ger, right? So here's what he wrote, and he's become a true believer in this stuff, and they wrote a big article, I guess, from Rabbi Riskin recently. This is technically my response to Rabbi Riskin. Magazine articles on converts and gerim, strangers, most recently the conversion story. cover March 4th. Bring to mind the 46 references to the ger in the Torah, not the familiar ger tzedek, the full convert to Judaism, but the lesser-known ger toshav, the resident dweller. The ger toshav is a spiritually evolved Noahide, or part biologically Jewish non-Jew, who is unable or unwilling to undergo full conversion and take on the yoke of full mitzvah observance, but nevertheless believes in God and wishes to reside among and formally affiliate with the Jewish people, becoming what is referred to by the sages as its fourth family. Last year, the chief rabbinate officially recognized the status of the ger toshav for the first time in 2,500 years, and it is surprising that this solution of the Torah for resolving the problem of Russian olim, like new citizens of Israel, and many others around the world is not being advertised and pursued.
Well done.
David Katz, Modiin, the writer, is a rabbi. Except for people on Facebook that say otherwise.
Was Rishkin writing for the Jerusalem Post already?
He started to, or he quit, that's right.
Quit, yeah.
And his ger proofs are ridiculous. I looked at his sources, they're botched. 100% botched. So, like I said, the reason why I like to do like the Facebook stuff, and if anyone posts something wrong about ger, my hobby is to look it up and see where the perversion went, and then I just gain a new ger source in the process. So that's why I care on the people that don't get it right per se, because there's a lot to be gained when you do get it right. And here's another one I'll read now. Okay, it's very small, but okay, here we go. So this was from one of our favorite anti-ger whatevers, and actually, do you have Sanhedrin 74 and 70?
You don't have Sanhedrin yet, I'm so sorry.
I was going to bring it. I didn't.
I can check someone get it. It's really small though.
I was going to bring a small one too.
From Sanhedrin and on, unfortunately, I don't have.
All right, so I'll paraphrase the beginning of the thing. And I'm starting to see where this is going to go. So I got my rhythm now. Okay, this is quoting the Alan Cecil retort. It's Sanhedrin 74b, if I can remember both. I'm going to paraphrase. How did it go? Oh man, I wish I had it.
Doesn't circumcise himself?
No, it's different. They used again. If I butcher what is this? No, I need the Hebrew. Well, you know, I don't want to take the man with. Let me just paraphrase. It doesn't matter. There's a discussion in 74b, and they use the language Ben Noach. So again, this is going to be the theme that we're talking about: Ben Noach versus ger, and I want to deal with the whole convert versus ger. That's where we're at today. I mean, I see it now coming to my brain. So the idea is that you can do 7 and no more, right? That's the first opinion there. And that's what the question was: should a Noahide die al Kiddush Hashem? Right? If someone says, "Eat the limb of a living animal, or I'll kill you," do you then eat the limb or not eat the limb if your life is under the gun? That's the question. So then the first answer was no, because that would be an 8th mitzvah, and there's only 7 and not 8. Then I think it's Abaye in the Talmud. Again, I'm just paraphrasing, or trying to remember. He says it's only 7, but all of their details come inside the 7. And again, you can work out how that works over there. There's a Tosfos on it, but that's not exactly where I want to go. The bottom line is that's where the source for you can't make your religion out of Noahide comes from, right? So that, can you do 7 or versus more than 7 do 8, or is it 7 and all the extra mitzvahs come inside the 7 to be able to fulfill your 7 better? But I don't want to go there because that's not the place. The point is then, who do you think the Talmud uses to prove that you do not give your life to Kiddush Hashem, to dying for the sake of the Lord? Naaman. Right? So it says that Naaman, when he was with Elisha, he wanted to go back to his people and he was going to do idolatry, but not for the sake of Avodah Zarah, idolatry. Right? He was going to, he was saying, I'm with these people, and but I'm not going to really do it for real. So what it comes down to is, I forget the whole thing, but it's not why I'm bringing this. It's a question if you can do it openly or in a concealed way, right? If you're around Christians and they're doing Mass, and you're there, does that mean you're obligated to die? All right, or as if you keep the Noahide in your heart, then it's different than if you were to if they made you take mass. Okay, but I don't want to get into the discussion there. My point is why I'm bringing this up. Rashi, this is the whole crux. On the next page, Rashi talks about the whole Naaman Elisha thing. Again, the whole discussion I said, just don't put it in the front of your mind. I'm just telling you the background of what the Talmud is dealing with. My real issue here is Rashi brings a verse from Vayikra, from Leviticus 19. And it says, you will surely reprove your brother in your heart. So the question was, should Elisha the prophet have rebuked Naaman for going to be around idols where he was? So in the end, it turns out Naaman did not do a crime, right? Because he was not doing idolatry by going around idolaters. Again, look inside the sugya there. If it was, I think whatever it was, he kept it in his heart. But I forget the whole thing.
Yeah, he said the king was going to make Modiin him
Yeah,
in general.
exactly. So he did it. He did it in an allowable way. Let's put it that way.
Elisha told him to go in peace.
Exactly. Go in peace. That's it. And can't you say then that Elisha had a mitzvah to say, what are you doing? You can't do that. So Rashi says, I get this. Remember the point of the Talmud here, it was calling them Bnei Noach. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, right? That was the whole point. That's why Rabbi Cecil brought that's why he brought the whole Bnei Noach thing. Because he was trying to say, it says Bnei Noach there, and then again, I like to pick on it because this is very right to the point. He was trying to say the ger don't need to say 7 plus 1 because the Talmud says Bnei Noach 7 and all their additional support mitzvahs whatever come inside Bnei Noach, right? So there's no ger. Just call it Bnei Noach, and you can do however many mitzvahs you want to do. This one says 66. This one says all your different numerical schemes. Just call it Bnei Noach. But why does Rashi say? Number one, the Talmud brings Naaman as the proof. So everyone that knows Naaman's a ger guy, right? And in Krisis 9a, the famous Shabbos for the ger, Rashi there says Naaman is your archetype.
Talmud even explicitly says that Naaman was a ger tosha.
That's the whole point, explicitly. So what does Rashi say? You have a mitzvah to rebuke your brother, velo ger toshav, not a ger toshav. So number one, the Talmud was talking about Bnei Noach. Why does Rashi then say ger toshav? Because that's what it is. That's what it is. So that to me is this is maybe one of the strongest supports I've found so far in the debate of is it Bnei Noach or is it ger? And it doesn't need to be ger because Bnei Noach, they can do more mitzvahs and we're accustomed to it. That's that whole argument, right? That's for everyone, the soup du jour, or these days, that's the argument, right? Just call it Bnei Noach and we're happy. We'll that's where everyone's going with it. Just you can do your mitzvahs, but it's Bnei Noach. Well, Rashi seems to disagree with you. It's called ger toshav. Naaman was a ger toshav. The Talmud, and I you like this. This is for you. I didn't discuss any of this with you because you were going through personal stuff. Man, I really should. I want to see the text here. I wish I would have brought it, but the Talmud. I gotta get the language for this. No, I gotta bring this up. This is gonna blow your mind a little bit. Hold on one second. The language here is phenomenal. I mean, this is like game changer.
Yeah, we've got like 12 other ger watching.
Okay.
Or just got hooked to it.
It started that way.
Yeah.
There is such a thing.
What's that?
But they can be idol worshippers. Because it's a whole world. It's not the whole Gentile world, right?
No. No.
All right, so James, get this. Here's the text, everybody, for what I was talking about.
B'nai Noach. Everything's B'nai Noach. Look, the whole world B'nai Noach. That table's B'nai Noach. But
Wait, hold on one second. Boy mine, Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami asked a question. Ben Noach This is the previous page for where Rashi just was. Ben Noach mitzvah al kiddushas Hashem, o ein mitzvah al kiddushas Hashem. Now you know what I want to say this is. I'm pretty sure this is how you read it. Ben Noach, you know the famous thing mitzvah oseh. You know this? The idea is again we're just kind of weave a lot of ideas and so stay sharp. There's 3 levels of non-Jews. This is the famous Ritva from Makos 9a, right? You've probably heard me quoted a million times. I have I don't know if I brought the lamination here, but there's 3 levels of non-Jews. Yeah, James will show you afterwards. Again, I'm just going to do tying a lot of things together. Goy, which is idolater, Ben Noach, and Ger Toshav. So in the highly acclaimed world of the Ger, Chaim and I run our research. The Rogachover Gon. You guys remember that part from the book? The law given for the Rogachover Gon? You guys remember that? Huh? Yes, he did. So the idea is like this. Really, you should have Ger Toshav when there's a based in Yisrael and you go before the 3 rabbis and everything's working. And today, you see, we struggle with this, right? We struggle with this whole... these 3 levels, Goy, Ben Noach, and Ger Toshav. Most people want you to just be Goy. Some are willing to concede and call it Ben Noach. There's one rabbi on the planet that calls you Ger Toshav. But it works like this. When there's no way to get to become Ger Toshav, which 99% of everybody in this genre is suffering that fate, right? The Rogachover says, then you're a Ben Noach, but really it's Ger Toshav. And that really is, by the way, that is the bottom line level. I think that's what Rashi was saying. Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, because at these different B'nai Noach conferences, there have been 3 rabbis where people have actually taken a pledge that they disavow idolatry.
Yeah.
And they're officially disavowing idolatry. So does that then officially make them, according to the Rambam, does that officially...
I like non-Jews because they're good people.
What?
Non-Jews are good people.
No, but what I'm saying...
But they're good people. But they're good people. Every Jew knows this stuff. They all make. They want to. It's like, well, I think you can keep Shabbos, but don't tell anybody.
No, but
You're special. I know. The bottom line is there is a Torah written for this stuff. Everybody, they're trying to say, well, if we do it based in 3 people, it's like if we call it Ben Noah, but then we'll pretend it's just learn the sources. That's what I'm at. Whole thing. Every Jew rabbi knows how this works in his heart.
No, but my question is this: is those same people, a lot of those same people, who had that baked in at their conferences, are then fighting to say it's B'nai Noach, but they've done that
But they're not following the prescription. They're using logic.
What about the rabbis who said in that baked in?
It's all they're all using logic, and their logic is right, but logic will get you nowhere in this world. Right? When I got smicha, you guys know my famous story with smicha? I told you guys this. When I got smicha, I was a young guy in yeshiva, and I got all dressed. It was all Menachem Goldberg. I went to his house, and I showed up with my test, written out, and he said, "Mazel tov, this is garbage." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Everybody that turns their smicha test in, they give svara. Svara is logic." He said, "Everybody gets smicha," but he says, "If you want to be a rabbi, that's not how you do it. You have to find the source where it's written." He said, that's what a rabbi is. He says, don't give svara. Logical conclusions. I like non-Jewish people because they're nice people, therefore they're kosher. That's a svara. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't get anywhere. You're not helping anybody. Right? If you have to get it sourced and written down, then it's... At the end of the day, meat potatoes solves people's problems, right? If the check's in the mail, right? The check's in the mail. It doesn't do anything. It just doesn't. You need the stamp of approval. Not approval like I accept you. I mean the stamp in the source. So at the test, he made me learn the Tosfos commentary, he made he made up a question on the spot, and I had to learn it and source it on the spot in front of him. And if I wouldn't have done it, I would have failed, and that was would have been a lot embarrassing. But that's what it has to come to. It has to come to the source. So look at this thing here. A Ben Noach, according to this the Ritva. Ritva is a commentator who wrote on Makos 9a. Makos 9a is a tractate of the Talmud. It's one of the four main Ger tractates that exists. Anyone know the four? Avodah Zarah 64b. You guys heard me quote that before. Makos 9a, Krisis 9a, Yevamos 48b. Those are your four big ones. Right? Everything written about Ger ultimately comes down to one of those four Gemaras.
Can you say them one more time?
Krisis 9a, that's my famous Ger Toshav Shabbos. Makos 9a, that's where you find out there's a Ger Toshav Goy Akum, and compared and contrasted with the Ger Toshav righteous, blah, 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 right? You will not understand Makos 9a unless you know about these two categories, which the Rebbe is going to clarify that when we get to it. Yevamos 48b is your Ger Toshav, Ger Tzedek non-Jew, which is essential to this discussion. You will not understand Yevamos 48b if you don't know that the Ger Tzedek there is not a Jew convert. He is a non-Jew. That one was about a heart attack waiting to happen when I first found that one out. What was the other one? Avodah Zarah 64b. That is the source of all sources. That's your famous Rambam source going there. Those are the sources. Everyone is writing on one of those four Gemaras. Okay. The Ben Noach, aside from the Rogachover is in reality. He's saying we don't have a chance to get the base in, but let's pretend the Rogachover doesn't exist, right? And reality doesn't exist. It's this very rigid law. So Ben Noach is not a goy. He rejected idolatry, but he doesn't have a base in to go to, so he is not commanded and does. He didn't go before a base in. So if he rejected Christianity and his family calls and says, come to Mass, he doesn't really have so much of a barrier between him and the church. Because he just kind of took it on by himself. He's not, he's loose. Again, this is not so much reality. We're talking about kind of rigid law. The Ger Toshav, he made it official, right? He is out of idolatry. I mean, it's Ger language convert, not convert Jew. I mean, he really converted his soul shtickle. He's done. He's not going back, and it's not even a question. So the last two levels, the Ben Noach and the Ger Toshav, the Ger Toshav is called mitzvah v'oseh. He's commanded and does. Now that is, don't be bought. Number one, don't be intimidated by the Hebrew. It's not real Hebrew. It's called code. All right. So a lot of the things that you hear me saying is not real Hebrew. Like the woman at the airport, she wanted me to speak Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. I speak Yeshivish and Reuven and Zohari. That's all I speak. Right? So if you want to talk Tosfos, we can talk Tosfos, but she doesn't know what that is. But it's code. It's not. Yeshivish jargon is not. It's not a real language. That's why you guys can get it, because it's just kind of like twang. It's not a real thing. It's code. That doesn't really have implicit meaning. Saying you don't get into what does this word mean and what does that word mean. You just learn how to use the expression. I mean, I speak a pretty good Yeshivish, and I don't understand probably 80% of what it really means. Like dafka, what does dafka mean? I have no idea. I just know when to say dafka. So a lot of these words, and in English also, you don't know what you're talking about half the time, right? I was a short time. I was a teacher for Berlitz, English as a second language, in a religious Muslim village, and they would ask me, questions. What is this? I don't know, whatever kind of idiom or expression in English. They'd say, "What does that mean?" I say, "I have no idea. We just say it." So it's called mitzvah v'oseh, which means you're commanded and you do the thing. A Jew is commanded and does. See, don't be bogged down by the porous grammar. Also, a Jew is called commanded and does. Right? That's what a Jew is in terms of halakhic. What is a Jew? A Jew is commanded and does. A ger toshav is someone who becomes commanded and does on the 7. If you want to be commanded and doing more than the 7, then talk to James about the Rambam, Hilchos Malachim, chapter 10, Halacha 10. Right? A ger can take on any one of the 613. And then someone on Facebook will say, oh, but they can't take on the mitzvahs of a woman because if he's a man, well, duh, thank you. Didn't know that one. How about the Kohen mitzvahs? Oh, okay. Well, a Kohen that learns Nachri learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. Okay, be in reality, please. So they can take on the mitzvahs and be commanded and does is what you call it. The Ben Noach is not commanded and does. So they'll say greater is the reward for one who is commanded and does than one who is not commanded and does. So it's more official to be a ger toshav and not a Ben Noach, or the more so a goy. And you'll say, I live far away, I don't know any Jews. So the Rogat Shover quoted by Chaim Klurfi in World of the Ger, the Rogat Shover brought down the real bottom line of the law. And this is what this book here is. This is the Grease and the Rambam, and you heard me quote. We'll do it, God willing, later on today. This is how you become a ger. Ready? And Noahide says, I, Bob Wells, state your name, have accepted the 7 laws of Noah. I'm now commanded and does. That's all he does. Once he's done that, he's a ger toshav. Then he comes and says, just kidding. I'm actually not doing that. We say, okay, so you didn't do it. And he says, no, just kidding again. I did it. I am doing it. All 7. I say, okay, great, you're ger toshav. And he says, no, just kidding, I'm not. So we can do this game all day long. The only reason why it would be harmful to do that is because if you are saying this, I am, I'm not. I am, I'm not. The only reason why you would come a ger toshav is to interact with a Jewish community. If it's not why, if you don't want to do that, there's no reason to do it at all. So if you're going around a Jewish community and you're waxing and waning, they're going to kick you out like any other community on the planet for doing that, right? So it's not in your best interest to play around. Like when I got smart at the airport last night, I was this far from not coming again, right? Because I would have made a comment that I had an insatiable desire to make ill-advised terrorist remarks, but my sense of humor almost got the best of me. But I had to pipe it down because, they'd throw me out. They'd say, you're not part of our community at Ben Gurion,
Now, would you say the person that goes before a baseline is my kabul now as a ger toshav, or would that go against?
B'diavad, yes. B'diavad. B'diavad means not optimally. I think we have found enough reason to say yes. The difference is you cannot. It's on a personal level. That's the point. We're not on a national level. You can't just kick the doors down to a synagogue and say, I'm ger. Right? Let me in. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. They don't have to let you in. They don't have to look at you, talk to you, just like any other community on earth, right? If you find someone that wants to do the mitzvah, love the ger, and there's a rapport, then yeah, you can do the mitzvah. Everything's activated. The idea though is for you can do it on yourself. When you raise your, you accept on yourself to be mitzvah osei, like the Rogachover, then that's between you and God. So it's not on the kahila, it's not on the community, but on yourself for sure. That's without a question.
When Rambam says like outside of Yovel, he's referring to the community.
100%.
Yeah.
And if that's even how you read that Rambam, that's the whole thing. But yeah, the Jubilee is communal. When the Jubilee comes, we will take in all ger toshav. So then there's no question. But we don't want to wait until Mashiach comes when we can do it now. And we don't have to wait. That's the whole point. The Torah is eternal. Everyone says this. There's no one that doesn't say this. That's part of the irony. No one says that there's no Ger Toshav, except for one book written by very special people. So the language in Sanhedrin, now that I explained, remember again, the language is commanded and does versus not commanded and does, right? And the word for commanded and does is mitzvah v'oseh. It's code. It's just, so when you see the code come up, you say, hey, look at that. Look at this, James, ready? Boy minei Rabbi Ami ben Noach mitzvah al kedushas Hashem.
Okay.
See, he's commanded. They're asking a question. Is a ben Noach who's mitzvah? He's commanded. He's a ger, right? Does he have on the level of being commanded and doing such that he would even die kiddush Hashem? O ein mitzvah al kedushas Hashem. Or is he not mitzvah? Right? He's not commanded and does. And does he still have a commandment to die on Kiddush Hashem? So then, this is the one page. You turn the page and Rashi has the whole thing where he calls it not a Ben Noach, but a Ger Toshav. Well, look, we see the three levels. Are we talking the level of a goy? Right? A Nachri working on the 7 laws? Rambam Hilchos Melachim 10:9. Is he a Ben Noach commanded? The second level of the Ritva, the Rogachover Gaon's answer, right? It's a Ben Noach didn't get the base in, and then Rashi says Kol Meger Toshav. So you see, here's a perfect example of the lingo being used in a very tight weave of the 3 levels of the Ritva. Now you'll say that's a stretch, but it isn't a stretch. Those are the levels. So when you look in the Rambam, and you look in the Ritva, you look into all the Torah sources, those are the 3 levels. So the commentators are going to always use these levels. It's plugged in everywhere. Just like we see, one second. This is like we see ger everywhere, right? Okay, when you get into the innards of ger, you see the language of the rabbis everywhere. Now, what's the real Makel Patish, the final strike of the hammer on this? Next page. Rashi calls the Ben Noach Ger Toshav. He shouldn't do that. I try to find every reason in the world why Rashi would do that except for this. I tried to leave this out of it. I looked up in my 50,000 books. Was there any reason Rashi did this for some reason I don't know? The answer is this is the answer why. And all the commentators suggested it's Naaman, and it's what you call Avodah Zorah 64b. Ezu Ger Toshav. Who's a Ger Toshav? Someone who keeps the 7 laws of Noah. That's what it's called. That's just what it's called. Now the Talmud then can say, why'd they call it Ben Noach? Well, they did and they didn't. They were asking which level of the 3 levels is it? Is it like the goy, the one who's working on the 7 laws? One who got to the 7 laws? Or one who's mastered the 7 laws? The answer is the doing more mitzvahs is the Ger Toshav. Rashi shows you that. Right. So go ahead.
No, would that be that be also Roy and Ben Noach, kind of like left it out?
So let's talk about our friend the Nachri now. Because this is also what I want to talk about. I credit this. Who was it? Jacques or South Africa? I don't remember who it was. Again, why? Let's just shift gears a little bit. We're going to focus on what you're saying. Why is there Ger Toshav today? Any takers? Why are we not going to say it's Jubilee? How do we know? Absolutely. There's Ger Toshav today. Anybody?
You're living with non-Jews in Israel.
No.
This is happening.
Because I have meat. And the Torah tells me to give meat to the Ger Toshav. And to sell it to the Nachri. And Jacques taught me the Jew needs to know which one's the Nachri and which one is the Ger Toshav. And it is Sheldon, listen up. It is illegal for a Jew to give a gift to a Nachri. A Nachri is a goy is a Nachri. He's a church guy. Okay? A Christian is a nachri. Goy is really not a biblical term. The term in the Chumash is nachri. Right? All of our messianic friends, nachri. All of our former messianic friends, nachri. They look like ger, talk like ger, act like ger, but they are nachri. And we are learning that lesson painfully.
They don't talk like ger.
No, they don't. That's the thing.
They talk like hose up.
Well, that's it. They're on. It's like they're on a tour. You know, they're on a what's like a Gilligan Diamond, a 7-hour tour. And it's very confusing.
One of those dress-up fantasies.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. And they're good people. I'm not even gonna say bless their heart. They're really good people. You know, I like them. And that's why it really pained me recently from this. You know, I knew after South Africa we were going to get a whole. I mean, remember after Texas last year, it was like, oh, you know what broke loose. So I was just waiting for it, and it happened. And I'll introduce why it happened. All right, it's a good story. Why? Remind me if I go on a bunny trail to come back to the Nachri and today, right? You know, Russell's got a hat on. Look at Russell's hat. That is an artifact from Cape Town. I'll tell you just. I'm going on a total bunny trail here, right? We were in Cape Town, and it was awesome. I mean, it was really awesome. And they are not you. They are something different. But it was as authentic as it can get. I mean, it was a different vibe. Their whole thing is Isaiah 56:3. That's like their whole deal. Right. And they're kind of like if Texas never really went messianic, then these guys they left the 7-hour tour. They're done with the tour. Right? They were around messianic, but they left. That's their thing.
Yeah, we're getting a bad echo. I'm not sure why. Somebody said you turned on a device of some sort. Did something just turn on?
No, somebody just turned something on.
So South Africa came out of messianic, like completely. They just like you and I talked a lot about. Russell told me his question was back in the day. If Christianity invented, how you want to say it? The question before Christianity. What was the relationship of the Jew and the Gear studying? But express it first. What Christianity did. Christianity was the non-Jew serving. How's that?
Where I think you're at is the question we first asked coming out of the church.
Everything, and there, if Ger battles the Noahide world, I get Nilva world battles the Messianic world, and then those worlds collide, and it's extremely confusing, right? And it really, I wish it wouldn't happen, but it's bound to happen. So if you're gonna fight, you might as well be a grizzly, right?
That's right.
That's it. So it was a little bit Labidic. It was interesting. But But my policy is I'm not telling you guys what to do in terms of be a babysitter and how to conduct your personal affairs. It's not my business. It's just not my business. It's, if the fight's going to break out, then roll your sleeves up. I mean, what can you do? A lot of people ask me, there's two camps. Why don't I control my students? And their answer is, why am I worse than my students? Well, there's your answer. What can you do? Yeah. So that's that. The Nachri, the Goy is not just like Noahide is not in the Chumash. There really is no Goy in the Chumash. Now the word might appear this and that, but it's not. It's not like Goy. It's Nachri. All right, and so I'll just give you a couple Nachri quotes just so you know where we're at. All right, a non-Jew who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that expression. What language do you think is used for that? Nachri. Nachri. A Nachri that learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. Then there's another version, and Akum who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. The Akum is the Talmudic Nachri. Then they'll say, no, but it was the censored edition of the Ram. Okay, get a life. Seriously, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. Okay, you can say, well, Akum is the idolater, the Goy is a nation. It's the same code. That's the whole point. It's code. When the guy that calls you a Nachri or an Akum or a Goy, it's the same thing. Same thing. Then I found, and I brought the source here, there's another version in the Midrash Tanchuma. I don't know if I ever told you this. A ger who learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. So it's not limited to just Nachri, that expression number one. Yeah. Well, kind of. Yes. Well, there is the two.
But it doesn't mean if you're a goy and you study Torah, you're like the Kohen Gadol. If you're still a goy,
It does. I'll tell you why.
If you're still an idolater,
yeah,
you're not going into the Holy of Holies.
No, it's not taking it literally. The best answer I've seen is any human who learns Torah has the goy. How many mitzvahs does he have? None, right? Now as he's learning Torah, how many mitzvahs does he have?
7.
Well, at least one. He's learning Torah. I mean, it's not a mitzvah to learn Torah, but he's doing something, right? So the Marsha commentary says that's why he's compared to a Kohen Gadol. Just like a Kohen has more mitzvahs than a regular Israelite Jew, so too this person learning Torah has taken on more things than before.
Then his brother Goy, then his other Goys, he's taken on more than that.
Yeah, for each level that we're talking about, the Ger, the Akum, the Nachri, all these different levels, it's apropos to where they're at.
Yeah.
Right? So
It's coming closer to
So
home.
you're saying among the Goy, he's like a Kohen Gadol because he has a mitzvah.
yes,
That's it.
yeah.
His language, when he's talking about the 3 different Gedarim, the different categories of non-Jews, he literally says there are 3 different types of Goyim.
That's right.
One just relative to the one below it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's almost
So-
like using colloquialism at first to
Right.
get the actual.
Right, and it's all you have to know the context, right? So there's not a Christian like here's another story from the trip. This really blew my mind. I'm at the trip. I'm in the 5-star hotel. What night was it? It was Thursday night, and we're getting word we got to come down at 3 a.m. So they invited us to the VIP lounge. Hey, all right, the Champions Lounge. I figured I'm a champion. It's good for me. So I'm sitting alone, and there's a group on the plane now in the hotel with us, 25 Christians and a church group. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the guy from Dayton, Ohio, no less, he says, would I like to join him in his group? And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm going to do some work here. And he says, no, really, you can join us. And I said, are you guys any Jews with you guys? They said, well, a couple of us are Jewish, but mostly with the church. And I said, I'll tell you what. How would you like a free lesson about the non-Jew and the Torah? They were this close to doing it. They were that close. He's like, well, I got to ask my pastor. Pastor said no, obviously. I thought, we said, man, if I could pull this off, this will be a golden classic of all time. give me a lesson in the 5-star hotel. In the Champions Lounge. So, but what I did was I paid attention to their behavior. Because I'm probably not going to get bird's eye access like that anytime soon. Man, you really see what Nachri is when you watch those guys. It was a whole different world. So a Christian is a Nachri, right? Then the guy on Facebook that messages me and says, "I heard you have a book. I just left the church a week ago, and I'm Ger. You're not exactly Ger. Have a nice time reading the book, and we'll talk." Right? So he's in his mind, he's left the church. He's out of it, but he's a Nachri, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. That's the Rambam's Hilchos Melachim 10:9. He's working. I call it. He's working on the 7. He's working on it. I mean, he's there. He might not ever get it, but he's working on it. The level where you're no longer Nachri is when you're done working on the 7. Now you'll say, "Oh, that means Rabbi Katz says you don't have to do the 7 anymore." I never said that. You're done working on the 7, which means the rest of your life you're working on the 7. But you're commanded. You're commanded in doing at this point. It's not a challenge. Is there 7? Is there this? There's 7. So that's Rambam 10:10. Once there's 7, then you can stay at 7, or you move on, do what you need to do. Now you never stop the 7. Everyone knows that, and that's just like for state of a healthy mind. I mean, why would you not want to? Why would you ever stop the 7? I mean, think about it. If it's like, well, I've done the 7 long enough, I want to move on. Really? So go kill somebody and tell me how that works out for you. I used to do the 7, but now I just rip the leg off and just chow down on that leg. I mean, seriously, you're never done with the 7, and to me, it's a good thing. I mean, just the meditation of it alone. I mean, why do we speak Texas Kabbalah? You try talking 7 without 7. Right? I mean, Zeron Pin Nukva, 7. I mean, 7 is Kabbalah 101. So it gives you consciousness of Kabbalah just off the top. It's not a greater merit of how to jump into speaking and learning Kabbalah than going through Ger. Ger is instant access to the Kabbalistic spheres of learning and speaking. Is it not?
It is.
And I'll even go on record as saying you can't talk Kabbalah unless you talk Texas Kabbalah. It's impossible. I mean, you can't not do it. I mean, Chaim and I, when we were working this out years ago, we only knew the concepts from talking Ger Kabbalah. Just to I remember him saying, he would call me up, and we talked many times a day. He was one of the conversations that sticks out in my head. He said, "Do you think the tense of Shem is Keter between the Keter of Bria and the Malchus of Itzil or something?" But whatever that was at that time, you cannot get it without Ger stuff. You're just missing too much DNA. Kabbalah DNA, you have to.
Online says you can't not do it. As Rabbi Katz.
You can't not do it. So, how did I get to that? Oh yeah, so, okay, that's already, and here I'll throw this to your Chabad Chassidus for you guys. That 10-10 person who is no longer, struggling with the 7, right? He has removed the klipa, and he is now receiving his godly soul. How'd I do?
Well, you're not forgetting. Once you got Zon-Nuk, right?
Yeah.
You're not forgetting Zon-Nuk. But now you get to go to Ava Ima.
That's right.
Who would not want to do that?
Right. 7 plus 3 equals what do you say?
Who would not want to do that?
That's it.
No, we're just going to stay Zon-Nuk, fine. But don't tell me we're not going to Ava Ima.
That's right.
And we talked about it last night. You're working for the king. Okay? The king pays you a certain sum. Allows you to earn a certain sum. Okay? And so he asks you to do something. I need you to go hook up the horses and get the wagon on there and everything. And you say, "You don't pay me to do that." all you do is pay me to feed them. Who doesn't go do that? The people that say, just feed them. I'm just feeding horses. I'm not going to go hook him up for you. Who does it? Who would treat the king like that?
Right.
So at some point, feed the horses and go hook the things up and bring it in there. And
Just
then
do what the king says.
just do what the king says. Who cares what you make?
And so I'll give you a good mashal. They say in the yeshiva, when you learn Torah and you don't review, why would you not review? You sowed the field, you planted the seed, you got a whole crop, and you say, who needs the corn anyways? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So gears, by the time you get 7, like Zanuk, like you're saying, are you really going to say, okay, that was nice, have a nice day? Why would you do that? No, you can.
But you can't not.
You can't. Right. But the field is sown. It's growing produce. You're invited. It's there. It's your work. It's 7 plus 3. Like you're saying. What's the name of the group?
7 plus 3.
There you go. There you go. 7 plus 3.
You named it.
So that yeah.
I'm having a hard time understanding the concept of getting the 7 because it's so vast.
Yeah.
How can
That's why you weren't paying attention when I changed the girsa to struggle with the 7. Don't call it getting the 7. It's struggling with the 7.
But the struggle every day.
It always continues. Yeah, but there's something there. And I'll give you a good wrestling meme, a live wrestling meme for you. Embrace the grind. You know what makes a great wrestler from someone like myself who was not a great wrestler? The great wrestler embraces the grind. When I got a little nick on my elbow, I went to the trainer's room and cried. Not literally, but that was, for the muscle's sake. But the great wrestler, he understands he's going to get beat up today, tomorrow, the next day, and the bloodier you bloody his nose, the more into it he becomes. Right? So I'm struggling, he's struggling, there's condensation on the walls, there's blood on the walls. I cringe, he thrives. That's the difference. The Nachri is struggling. Or how about this? Let me one more meme. All right, the wrestler has to get comfortable being uncomfortable. When you get a guy in a headlock and you can't breathe, the good wrestler says, "Hey, that's all right. I'm comfortable here. I get in this position all the time. Who needs air? I don't need air. I'm quite content. I'll let you get tired strangling me, and then I'll beat you." And for me, I'm saying, I can't breathe. If you could just kind of not squeeze my neck so hard. I'm a Jewish kid, right? I got a bar mitzvah coming up, Please don't squeeze. You're going to leave a mark.
When I feel like your arm's gonna pop off.
That's it, right? So you get the ger embraces the struggle, embraces the grind of we're serving God, and that's what we're doing. The Noahide, or the Nachri. The Nachri is not really embraced. The word is commitment. Real commitment. Like you asked me about the mezuzah. What is the bottom line of putting up a mezuzah? As I checked it out in a lot of places. The reason why they give you a whole balagan on the mezuzah is synonymous with commitment. Don't put up a mezuzah if you're going to take it down tomorrow. Just like we said, he comes, I'm ger and I'm not ger. I'm ger and I'm not ger. You can do that, technically, right? You can come and drive the rabbi nuts. I'm ger, I'm not ger. I'm ger, I'm not ger. Mezuzah, that's already God. You're playing with God at that point. If you're going to put up a mezuzah, put up a mezuzah. And do not take down the mezuzah. Don't put it up if you think it's coming down. There's a level of commitment.
It's a sign, too, isn't it?
It's an os. All right. That's called embracing the struggle with the 7. No, yeah, the 7, as we said, 7 never goes away. You're never done with Zanuk.
The difference is
Never. You're always in Zan. The tachlis of all Kabbalah is putting the Modiin in the Midot. Right? That's how you do it. The Modiin in the Midot. Yeah, that's. You don't get more Kabbalah than that. If there's no Midot, where's your Modiin?
Southern Oklahoma.
No, Southern Oklahoma.
There you go. Once we start talking, it'll come out. It'll come out authentic. Modiin. That there's always 7.
In the meat.
I don't murder but I still struggle with not killing somebody sometimes.
That's it.
You know? I don't have a problem not murdering anybody, but sometimes it's really hard not to.
That's it. In a practical way, look at my episode in the airport, right? I had the Modiin, right? I could have pulled out Rashi Tosfos on her, right? In the end, I had to really struggle to not make a bad comment that would delay the trip even more. The point is, you're never done with the 7. It always comes down to 7. The Modiin come down to the Midot. That's how it is. That's just how it is. The Kabbalah doesn't change. It's one Kabbalah for the non-Jew, it's Kabbalah for the Jew. It's the same Kabbalah. It's the same.
Same Torah.
Same Torah. The Mochin comes down to the Midas. It doesn't change. Strengthen your Midas, strengthen the Mochin. Strengthen the Mochin, strengthen the Midas.
Oseh.
What's that?
Oseh.
What's that?
Do it.
That's right.
Hear it, do it.
That's it. So, is the Nachri that committed? No. And this is what I want to say about our Messianic friends on a 7-hour tour. Right? They're not committed.
They're
I
committed
have
to
a
what they're
question about
committed
that,
to.
though.
That's it.
What about the Nachri in Isaiah 56? Where it says...
It doesn't say Nachri.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't.
Child and no free.
Hello, you guys did not hear the YouTube link. Ben Hanecher.
Okay, that's better.
Really?
Ben Hanacher?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Me and Ira did a class on it. We looked at. You got to hear that class. The Ben Necher.
Who attaches himself.
Hold on. No. Let me explain how. Let me explain to you how deep this one goes. This is why, if you don't get this stuff, you have no idea what you're doing. Exactly. Now, hold on a second. So, I've received plenty of indirect emails from our chief editor of Shoel Noach. It's in Hebrew. So if you can't say it nice, say it in Yiddish. Right? So, they say Rav Moshe Feinstein has an answer that the non-Jews cannot do mitzvahs. And Michael Schulman, bless his heart, says that is the source from Moshe Weiner that the non-Jew cannot do mitzvahs. Right? That sounds pretty solid, doesn't it? Moshe Feinstein said it. Now that's a guy in the 1980s. You don't get more modern than that. And that would be a chokehold where you got to tap out and call it a day. Only I have a thing that I do for fun. I look up all these sources religiously, and I looked up that one. Number 1, what language do you think Rav Moshe used? Was it Goy, Nachri? What language was it? Ben Necher. Now, how many guys on the planet know what a Ben Necher is? 1, and you're looking at him. And I will challenge anyone on this. What he meant by Ben Necher. I know what he meant. Because I know what a Ben Necher is. Ben Necher, you can... today's world, it's a Messianic Jew. So who was Rav Moshe saying cannot do mitzvahs? A Messianic Jew. And I applaud him for that, obviously, but all of us do. Now, a Ben HaNecher, with the Hey, he is a delightful person. When you look up in the whole Tanakh, the Ben Necher are the antagonists, always were. Always antagonizing and looking to rip people off for this and that. The Ben HaNecher is the one who says, look, I'm with it on Jews. I didn't get a bris milah, but, does God love me? Isaiah 56:3 says, yes, and you are nilva to Hashem. You are attached to God.
So these are Jews.
They're not Jews.
No, you said Messianic Jews.
No.
It's Ben Necher.
He said that
Ben Necher.
Then
there's Ben Hanecker.
Yeah, she's trying to look it up.
Yeah, he's the good non-Jew. And he's nilva to Hashem. Now look in Isaiah 14:1, because all the commentators connect 14:1 with 56:3. And read it out loud.
For
Hashem will show mercy to Yaakov. He will choose Israel again and grant them rest in their land. The proselyte, this is stone, will join them and be attached to the house of Jacob.
In Hebrew?
But in Hebrew, let me see where it says, Hager.
And Nilva.
Venilva. Venilva Hager.
There you go. There you go.
Drop the mic and walk away.
That is the
Don't drop that one.
Don't drop that.
Metaphoric mic.
That's the gear. And then read Isaiah 44, I think 5.
I just got Gary.
You know what? I'm telling you, it's the
Nilva is always a non-Jew.
How does that relate
It's
to
the Sahadi
Vegas
of
as
the
far as
own, I'm
attached?
telling you.
Vegas is like an attachment. Nilva
This was
joined. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so like
Right.
to join,
And a lesser Nilva is Chaver.
Israel.
like friend.
Right. If Russell and I are friends, but as the Jew Ger, we're Nilva.
Okay. Okay.
And
He is
So,
Gary.
so Nilva is a set.
Yeah.
Join
Yeah.
us.
yeah, but I'm saying no, as friends we're Chaverim, just guys.
Right, right.
But Jew Ger, it's Nilva. And then, how do I know it's kosher? He's Davik to Hashem. He has Dvekis with God.
Gotcha.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All this time.
But that was an issue in South Africa. It was look, we all know. In my opinion, these things are not that badly articulated, right? When Russell says Gerd Sadiq, right? It is what it is. I mean, seriously, don't be so mockbead. But in South Africa, they were like, they're saying it wrong. Not you, but the people in South Africa, they were said it wrong. And so the rabbi there, is an awesome guy. He's like my other half. He's really, really awesome. Brian Opert. He was trying to say that the ger is, I think, integral to the Jewish people. And they thought that there's no God in this equation. We just need the non-Jews to come to the synagogue and do a hoedown or whatever, right? And they didn't understand it goes to God first. That should be obvious. That's pshita, right? So it shouldn't have to be said, but I'll say it anyways. The ger is ger because he has dvekus with God. He is davik with God. So if the Jew has dvekus with God, the ger has dvekus in God, they meet in God, and then in this world, it's an obvious nilva relationship. That's how that works. You got the...
Yeah, but I'm not really sure what you're going for, because it says this one will say, I am Hashem's, the other one will call himself by the name Jacob, and the...
Where you at? 44:5?
44:5.
Yeah, read it.
And, okay, this one will say, I am Hashem's.
Yeah,
The other one will call himself by the name Jacob.
yeah.
This one will sign his allegiance to Hashem and adopt the name of Israel.
Yeah, so all the commentators, and I mean all of them, they say there's like 4 or 5 groups there. Like one's the Bali Tshuva, this and this. The last one is the Ger, and the God. It's the sources, not in the commentaries. In the commentators, they oscillate between the God-fearers, they call them God-fearers, in the Hebrew sources, and the Gerim. It's all the sources say. Rashi is one of the ones that says it. Tillim also. Yeah, 4 houses. That's one of the sources for 4 houses of Israel. Yeah. And then, yeah, by the way, you know where that verse is brought in that way? The Tractate of Gerim, one of the small tractates in the Talmud. Masechtas Gerim. So, okay, now back to our Nachri. So there's many kinds of Nachri. In fact, I actually do know the answer for the different... There's different words for the different Nachrim. This is something I haven't taught too much of. David HaMelech, King David, talks about it in Psalms often. Let's see if I can get it right. You and I discussed it before. Amim, Umim, and Goyim. 3 levels of non-Jew by David HaMelech. And I don't remember the exact which one's which. So I'm going to kind of make a little model, and I urge you to look it up and be particular. I think, again, I forget which one's which, so don't hold me to these distinctions. But let's just say Goyim is no God, no religion. They're bound by, I think, a common language. Look it up inside. Yeah, but the most minimal thing. and then Amim or Omim, I forget which one it is. I think one, they believe in the same God, but other than that, they're pretty much random. And then the other one is one religion, Dalet Taf. They have they're united for a religious cause. So the different levels of Nachrim represent these types of things. And I can honestly say what I saw with the church group in the hotel, and James and I talked about it, oscillating between. I really, my eyes got open a lot. I was surprised. I haven't been around that many non-Jews in the name of Christianity since high school, and back then I didn't pay attention to what these things were. But man, I feel like I was back in high school again. And there was no God there. That's what was alarming. I mean, there was no God. And it really made me understand where I came from a lot better in Centerville, Ohio. I mean, there was no God. It was juvenile. It was immature. Just kind of giggly. Like you said, if I would have even attempted to make up some kind of story to even sit with them to teach that, I would have been looking dumber than they would have. It was just that dumb. But there was no God there. And I really understand, I hope, don't hope, but Christianity, I understand it. That it's born into Klippa. Tell me if I'm right. Born into Klippa. Yeah. And what got me, from a Jewish point of view, let me see if I can articulate this. How do you say it? They were lacking. When you have God in your life, you realize God is all there is in this world. And that doesn't make sense if you try to get someone religious, because you say, hey, do you know God? It's like some kind of missionary. But it's a reality check. God is the missing component in your life in this world. When you have God, it is the circumcision to your heart. I know that now. King David talks about the nature of water is to rise straight up. And then God has the angelic kingdom push it down so that we know water. So at the Exodus, God removed those angels and it went right up. That's what King David talks about in Psalms. So our Yetzer is evil from youth, says the Torah, right? In the times of Noah. God is the circumcision of the heart. And I realize why the Messianics don't like my stuff at all. And I realize I'm way too serious for those people.
They endorse you, First Fruits of Zion.
I saw that. That's pretty cool. I know.
I talked to the guy.
Oh, you talked to him? I want to find out about that. I saw the write-up. But I'm saying on YouTube, I part of my little research, looking stuff up, I saw a learning expo by the counter missionary world, right? And I'm shocked at the levity in their Torah. I mean, it's shocking when I finally saw it. And it's like, well, we can say, this word appears 64 times. And it's like, hey, how'd the Broncos do against the Patriots? I mean, it's just kind of weird. It's like, no, it's not serious.
It's a lack of reverence.
It is a lack of reverence. And it's like, you told me, a Bible study in Christianity is like, discussing what you think the Torah is saying. It's like, it's what it is. And I'm saying, this is not my opinion. Everyone that knows my stuff knows I don't bring my opinion. I don't think I'm on record.
You do, you tell it's yours.
What's that?
You own it if it is.
Well, I'm on record as saying I don't teach my opinions. My opinions are usually wrong. I'm judgmental and I have no patience. Like the security check in the airport. That's my opinion.
If I said you own it.
That's it. So we would have been done a long time ago if I was presenting my opinions in this stuff. But that's all they do is opinions. And you saw that world. The difference maker was they had no God, none. And they might think Jesus is God, but in reality, that was nothing to do with it. But not even, but it's not even. It hadn't. If Jesus was God for them, they would have been talking the whole meal about Jesus this, Jesus that. Jesus didn't come up once. They didn't talk about it. It was repulsive, really.
A lot of Christians are culturally.
That's it. By the way, at the airport, because you guys, with the level of intensity that I was going through, The Christian group, the nice Christians over there, they were ready to punch the girl at the airport. I thought, hey, I thought you were being a nice Christian about this. I mean, he really got physical with her. He started grabbing her, and I mean, yeah, they turned savage over there. I was waiting on that one. They got real mad. They got really mad. We were all mad, but I mean, you saw the gimmick was going to go, you know. But I think that's what King David's talking about, you know, the congregation without God, and then there's levels of maybe like a Ger light, right? Kind of like a pre-Ger coming towards Ger. I don't know. I mean, I think look, Texas is probably like one of those. I mean, not Texas Ger, but the state of people that don't know their Ger is probably a lot of. I mean, what everyone knows, my Best Buy talk with John the Ger, right? That was a guy who's like a pre-level whatever. So King David basically identifies 3 camps before you get to Ger proper.
You're talking about 3 levels of Ger and different Nokri and are there 3 levels of Jews?
What's that?
Are there 3 levels of Jews?
Israel, Levi, Cohen. Just kidding.
That's true.
Well,
No, it's not.
And the convert.
Yeah, but it's not 3 exact levels. It's more. King David is like the philosopher of all time of Torah. So what he's saying is, when he was surveying the world from Zion, which Zion's the place to do that, he saw that you can really algorithm down to 3 different camps.
He's just looking right, left, middle.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's right. It comes down to Kabbalistic thought. I mean, philosophy really is this Kabbalistic thought, 101. So he in his Psalms here calls it Amim, Umim, and Goyim.
Maria, seriously, a backside.
That's
what
it.
It looks like.
That's right. That's it. So King David is the ultimate Makubal, really. So you can. What's that? Huh?
No.
So you can really look at the world and figure out or algorithm down to a certain amount of this person, that person. Like I said, the Christians at the hotel, those were Goyim, right? The level of no God, no dot, no nothing. I wouldn't say every non-Jew I saw in Israel is like that. Obviously, I mean this was a church group proper.
Yeah.
So anyhow. The groups of Nachri, you just have to look at the context, of what the Torah is talking about, what reality is talking about, at any given time, what's being spoken of. Now, finally, as we're on topic, the Jew has to know who he is dealing with in this world. Otherwise, he's going to give gifts to a Nachri. And boy, that happens a lot.
I have a question about that. So it's a sore to give gifts to a Nokri.
Yeah.
Is it a sore to accept gifts from a Nokri?
I forget. I know it's spoken about in the Talmud. I forget. I think they say it's not forbidden.
Okay.
I think, but I gotta check it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know it's spoken of. The bottom line, I'm not sure.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because of all the Christian groups who come and give to Israel.
Yeah.
So it's an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll come along from 10-9.
10-10.
The one preceding.
Yeah?
10-10 talks about that giving charity.
No, 10-10.
Is it
Yeah.
10-10?
Yeah.
I would say if you want to find the clip, follow the money.
Oh yeah, it's after.
But
That's
the
it.
problem with accepting gifts from them is then they feel like they have some entitlement to dictate to you what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's why it matters.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a joke. So that when I was in London, a guy got me with a good question, and I went and studied the next day, and I found the answer. Here's the situation. This was a major question that came up in London. How'd it go? If a Jew has a slave, he can release the slave to become the 10th man in the minyan to pray. And then you can learn from that a ger can be a 10th man in the minyan. Not today. I mean, obviously, no one's doing that today. So don't, it's when your community rabbi tells you that can happen. Yeah.
Would that be when the slave is a circumcised slave, so he's already in line to become a Jew?
Yes, it's an Eved Kanani.
Right, so he becomes released. How would that relate to the to the Ger thing?
Because this is the whole thing about the Eved Kanani. If an Eved, all the laws of where a Ger, for example, can take part in Purim, all these things, if an Eved Kanani who's a Ger Tzedek non-Jew, by the language of the Vilna Gaon and the Shulchan Aruch 304 or Achayim, if an Eved Kanani can do it, all the more so the Ger can do it. Kol Shekain. The Eved Kanani has more stringencies against him than the Ger non-Jew, the Ger non-slave. But let me finish the case about the Eved Kanani. He's released from his slavery to become the 10th man. What they say in the Talmud, generally it is forbidden, asur, forbidden, to release him to become out from his slavery. Everybody's going to learn that wrongly when it says asur, forbidden, meaning it's a mitzvah of the Torah, forbidden to release an Eved Kanani. That is not what it means. You can look in the Rambam, in the Talmud, everywhere. What it means is you cannot stop your relationship with him as far as the Jew-Nachri relationship goes. You can't give him gifts. He's a Nachri. That's why the Ger has a merit above and beyond him, because the Ger is not a Nachri. You cannot pervert the relationship of the Nachri and the Jew. So the slavery keeps the protocol. So if you release him from that, you're going to be for transgressing giving to the Nachri.
Online, they want to know the source for what you just referred to. I'm not sure. I just stepped in myself.
Brachas 47b is where it's at in the Talmud, and then follow it all the way through the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, all these things.
So you're saying that the Eved Kanani is a Nachri?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's that?
A lot of people in church, sir.
All King of Bashan was circumcised.
Because he is circumcised and dunked in the mikveh for the sake of slavery. Not for the sake of removing the
Not for the sake of
klipa.
heaven.
Not for the sake of heaven. It's not lishma. So he is more non-Jew than the ger righteous ger non-Jew. Meaning, the verse in Parshas Rei, give the meat to the ger toshav, sell the meat to the nachri. There's a level of give the meat to the ger toshav. He is the ger in your gates. If he's not the ger in your gates, then he is a nachri. It's like George Bush said, those that are not with me are against me. Right? If it's not ger toshav kosher, then the Chumash tells you what he is. He is either nachri or ger toshav, or ger in your gates. Now there's levels rabbinically of this Eved Kanani. For example, I was like, I'm just saying he is considered. The language oscillates if he's ka ger toshav, if he's like a ger toshav, he is a ger toshav. The Vilna Gaon brings the three levels. I'll quote the Shulchan Aruch for you. A Nachri is bought by a Jew, Krisis 9a, which is two ways of learning Krisis 9a, slave and non-slave. You buy a Nachri on the condition that he will circumcise and dunk in a mikveh. Then he does it. He is called a ger tzedek non-Jew. Because he takes on the mitzvahs of a woman. This is the famous meme that I was talking about earlier. If he forgoes his mila and dunking, nothing happened, he's still a Nachri. That's why. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything for the sake of heaven. He did it because he wants to have the merit of the Jewish household. He did not gior. He did not undergo ksat gerus. Right? If I moved to Tzfat to become a servant to a Jewish home, do I live in Tzfat?
Yeah.
No. I'm a servant in somebody's home. Big difference. If I'm homeless in the streets of Tzfat, am I living in Tzfat? Not really, no. How about this? If I had a layover in Germany on the way here, which was one of the options, did I visit Germany? No. Otherwise, seriously, you can make a claim like, hey, where have you been? Oh, I've been to all these cities. I mean, you were in the airport, my friend. It doesn't count. I flew over Germany on the way here. Did I visit Germany? I mean, there has to be a point where the rubber hits the road. If he does not circumcise and dunk, he's considered a ger toshav. Now that ger toshav is the akum ger toshav. The ger tzedek non-Jew is the akum nachri ger tzedek. And if he did nothing, not for the sake of 7 laws, he is a nachri mamish, complete nachri. So there's nachri on this level. Then there's like nachri plus and nachri plus plus, but they never really lost nachri. To which the Rambam says, if he flees his master and goes to Israel because he loves the mitzvahs, now he is a ger tzedek non-Jew ger toshav. Now he has removed the klipa, but he has to flee the master. It's like when I got to Israel, I lived in the yeshiva. Did I live in Israel? No, I was a yeshiva bacher in yeshiva. If I leave the yeshiva and get married and have a family in Tzfat, then you can say you have a household. Naftamina, could I have had my wife and kids as a bacher in the yeshiva? No, they would throw me out. So because he's a slave, he doesn't have the liberty of a regular ger tzedek non-Jew, ger toshav, whatever. Okay. The Parshas Rei with the meat is a very black and white scenario. You're either here or you're here. It doesn't entertain anything else. You're either a kosher ger or you're a nachri. So now, in the slave that was removed to become a member of the minyan, he's ready for Judaism, or he's ready to become ger. He doesn't want to. So that's his chisaron. That's his limitation. He could leave if he wants to. On that level, he doesn't want to. So the master cannot release him because the slave has not removed the level of slavery. Is still a nachri. All the more so if he can become a 10th man, it's called kol shekain in Hebrew. All the more so the ger. But there's no ger today. So you can't say the ger can do it today. Right? The ger, like the Ramchal, in the end of days when the ger is fixed, the Torah law is a ger could. What will Mashiach's Beis Din look like? I'm not putting words in Mashiach's mouth, so let Mashiach handle that one. I'm just saying, in theory, what it would look like. And emphasize the word would look like. That's right. That's right. That's right. So then the Jew has to know, am I dealing with a ger or a nachri? Pretty much at all times. Does he give the meat or sell the meat? Does he give gifts, receive gifts, or is there a freedom and liberty between he and the ger? If you don't know that, you're in deep trouble for the Jew. And this is not dependent on the Jubilee. This is always. Always. So here I called Rabbi Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg. And where's Simcha? I want Simcha to hear this. And in my research, it sometimes comes down to a halacha that I can call the halachic authorities to see what they would say. Right? Sometimes it's a Kabbalistic thing. Sometimes it's a halachic thing. So when it gets to where you can plug it in, you plug it in. And I'm saying, I have no problem calling a halachist if it comes down to that. So I called him up on this point. I found in the Shulchan Aruch also a couple places where absolutely it says there's a ger toshav today for the sake of giving the meat and in the proximity of wine. They can be around your wine. So I called up Rabbi Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg, and I said, "Is there such a thing as is this Shulchan Aruch good for today?" I know the answer. I'm seeing what he's going to say. And I said, "Is the Shulchan Aruch written for all time?" Yes, it is. He probably thinks I'm an idiot just for asking that question. So I said, "Okay, so if it's written, then there's a ger toshav today." And then he was like boom boom like haywires. It hit him pretty hard. He didn't know what to do. He said, "No, there's no ger toshav. The Jubilee. Oh, enter party line here." And I said, "Well, you just got done telling me the Shulchan Aruch is for all time." He said, "Well, yeah, but there's no ger toshav today." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Do you know any ger toshav today?" I'm like, "Oh no, never heard of a ger toshav today. Never saw one in my life." He's like, "We don't have. There's no. Who sees ger toshav today?" I said, "Well, there's these groups online and these people they claim to be ger toshav." I didn't tell him who I was. He says, "What, the Lubavitchers? Their 7 laws?" I said, "I don't know. The Lubavitch said they have these 7 laws." He said, "No. Now remember, this is the guy that gave Michael Schulman approbation for the Divine Code." So that's what he thinks. So then I said, "Well, what about Rav Kook's based in and Zionism, the ger toshav?" And he says, "Nah, the Dati Lami don't know what they're doing." So the bottom line is his entire thesis of why there's no ger toshav today is not the Jubilee. He just has never met a draft. Quote Mike Malich. And so I realized that from that moment, the path to Mashiach is very simple. Bring the drafts to the people. That simple. Basically, build up the ger world so much in a non-goofy way, which is why Chabad's got to get ger. Not to say emphasize goofy, emphasize the Gedolim of the Haredi world do not see a 7-law Noahide, the Lubavitcher Rebbe movement as valid. They opposed it.
They opposed it when he was
exactly. So they still carry over that. So one answer to Rabbi Turin is nothing's going as long as the word Noahide, Lubavitcher Rebbe still lives. And you'll say, well, the Rebbe, Chabad, well, the Rebbe never meant that. That's the bottom line to it. The Rebbe spoke Ger 101, okay? At that time in the 80s, there was no vessels made to speak in that way. The Rebbe already came under enough attack. He didn't need all this. And the Rebbe, as he spoke about Noahide, he was describing Ger, which we'll see in the Sikha. Yeah.
They have this book that's coming out that apparently came out, where it's every single source of the Rebbe Sikhs about B'nai Noach. So I was looking, there's some online I can look at.
Yeah.
So when he talks about B'nai Noach and the Sheva Mitzvahs, you notice there's 2 types of B'nai Noach he's talking about.
Right.
In context, there's you should teach them the Sheva Mitzvahs so you can interact with them, and they're not going to kill you. And then there's this other, character that when he talks about teaching them Sheva Mitzvahs, about them connecting to Hashem, and of course the Sikha that That's
it. The biggest thing about the Rebbe, which blew my mind, and thanks to Russell Kirk for this one, for encouraging me to continue with Lubavitch, as he says. As I had my doubts, okay, not in Chabad, but that I would find it this clearly in the Rebbe. I did not think I was going to find it. And then I'll tell you this story. It's a fantastic story. James and I have all my relationships on Skype have evolved in the time bracket. So James, with the baby and everything, we ended up getting this weird Friday morning. He was up late, I think with Gershom or whatever, and I'm coming back from Supercell deal with the Shabbos groceries. My mother's yelling at me, "Turn that down! You're waking up the whole neighborhood." So bless her heart. So James, you and I had this weird relationship going on at that hour, and it would always start the same way. In the parking lot of Supercell deal, as I'm getting the groceries shipped to the house, got the Bluetooth on the car, driving home, and then we shift. I get out of the car, run to get my sources open, then we continue it in the office, in the gear headquarters. And I have 50,000 books, as I mentioned, on Otzer Chachma. I don't know what we're doing. We're looking up something back then. And I saw there was a book called, I don't even know anymore. And he was talking gear a little bit to the point where I thought this guy might get gear. I mean, it was just, you can sense it when someone's getting gear. So we struggled to find his number. I called a really good friend of mine, Lubavitcher and Spot. Oh man, Zalman. Just keep in mind. Anyways, I felt bad for not saying his name. I say his name. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Wait. What's that? Okay. Yeah. So I called him up and he got me the author's phone number, Rabbi Garlitsky. And he was a hardcore guy in Crown Heights. Yeah. So we called him up. We tried it for a couple days to call him. I finally got through, and it was like the most Hamish thing ever happened. And she's like, the wife answers like, hello? I said, is Garlitsky available? Hold on one second. It's David Katz! He's calling for you from fact! And he's like, hang up the phone! What? Hang up the phone! There we go. He's like, hi, Dove, can I help you? I'm like, okay, no problem. I said, read your book, excerpt, gear, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I don't understand what you're asking me. How I got it. We got it, and I learned it. And what was startling, and it's always easy to bash Gedolim that, I don't hold Rabbi Nachman. He wears a white yarmulke, so I don't like him. Everyone's got their things, but when you see that these guys got it, and you say, well, how do you know they got it? Because the Rebbe spoke the sugya. He's talking about the Ritva and the Rashba and all of our friends that we know. So my neighbor in Sfat, when I was living there, was Rosh Yeshiva of a Baal Tshuva Chabad Yeshiva in Sfat. He was supposed to get me the sikha, never did. But I said, I ended up getting it, and it was geschmack. You got to learn it. It was awesome. I said, look, the Rebbe really got the lingo. But, I mean, really got the lingo. And he said, why do you think of himself, he said, why do you think all I do is learn sikhas? Because the Rebbe got everything. And I'm saying, you have to say it's true. If you got this sugya, then everything else, there's no question. People just don't think that it's possible. Then you learn, Rabbi Nachman and his ger. Rabbi Nachman got ger more than maybe anyone that ever lived in the modern era. I gave 3 classes on it from Cape Town. These guys were tremendous in Torah. It's documented in the writings. So I didn't think that the Rebbe would come through, but he did. He really did. And it set a precedent that ger really does span everywhere in Torah. And this is also one of the answers for Rabbi Turn. Why ger and not Noahide? Ger exists in Kabbalah, Chassidus, Halacha, Midrash, Chumash, Gemara, Agadata, you name it. Ger is in every quadrant and sector of Torah. Noahide ben Noach is not in every sector of Torah. The Midrash Rabbah does not speak of ben Noach. It speaks of ger. Kabbalah certainly doesn't speak of ben Noach in this regard. It speaks of ger. Now, some things do speak Ben Noach. But in every quadrant of Torah, ger is used. That, to me, is one of the biggest reasons why we have to push forward with ger as a vernacular and not just Ben Noach. That's one reason.
And the thing is and I've said this before, but anyway, I'm going to say it again. At the very first B'nai Noach conference, it was already being said.
Ger.
Ger was already being said. Meir Kahana said it in the hallway before he spoke. He said, this will bring us to Ger Toshah. And that was in 1990.
But I never saw that. I need the minute marker in their video, man. Mike was, I guess, on record of saying it years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't find the minute marker. Huh? I need the. And that's why, that's why I'm saying this is not my thing. I did not make this up. To attack me is ridiculous. This is known. It's beyond dumbfounding that we have to play this game today. I mean, seriously, this was always known. Just because Lakewood Art Scroll decided to get it wrong, now we have this whole thing to do.
And they didn't come into this wanting a name or a title. We just came wanting to know God.
The idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea's been around forever.
But it's most important for your community to get it and get the name.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. The name literally is for the Jewish people.
Not
Right.
us.
We already know who we are,
just want-
basically.
just
We
wanna know
don't
it's
care.
him.
We don't care what we call ourselves.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
Well,
Right.
And
Just
that's
call
what
us
Mayor
for something.
Kahana was talking about. He was talking about a legal status.
Right.
That's what he was referring to.
Right.
Within the Torah world, a legal
What
status
does
that
God
was.
call it?
Yeah.
He was talking about. A
That's
legal
it. So that's one of the other proofs I have for Turin. We're not interested in only the halachic terminology. The ger movement is interested in the language of the mitzvah. There's no mitzvah love the Noahide. There's a mitzvah love the ger.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So we're interested in speaking the vernacular of the mitzvah. So it's these kind of distinctions. Here's another one. Noahide is for those that are not Talmidei Chachamim. A Talmid Chacham knows ger. Period. It's what it's called. I mean, it's anybody that knows their field. Like ger is what it's called. And I call it the New Testament theory to put it back in Noahide. Why would I learn ger and then call it Noahide? That's like making a filet mignon burger and calling it a Big Mac. Why would you do that?
So the people who eat McDonald's know how to relate to it?
Right, then they say, then on Facebook they'll argue, well, McDonald's is gourmet. Like, no, McDonald's is trash. It's not gourmet. Yeah.
So an Italian rabbi 100 years ago came up with the term Noahide.
Who was he?
So, I got it written down somewhere. Anyway.
Who was he?
What?
Who was he?
He said he didn't.
Italian rabbi invented the
A
word?
French rabbi dealing with an Italian Noahide. I forget what it is.
Okay.
Like 100 years ago.
I know what you're
They
talking
came
about.
up with the term Noahide.
Yeah.
But what, I mean, to quote our presidential candidate, what difference does it make? I mean, what is the significance of
Why did you have to make it up?
arguing over these terms? That's what I can't.
We're not arguing. We're just calling it ger.
What is the significance of it?
There's no Noahide. Noahide tells a fraction of the story.
Somebody has to speak Amahar.
If you
someone doesn't.
right, it doesn't tell. Does Noahide answer the ger in Kabbalah?
No.
No. Does Noahide answer the ger in Chassidus?
No.
Does Noahide answer the ger of the Midrash? Does Noahide answer the mitzvah to love the ger?
Absolutely not.
No. Noahide is Sanhedrin, was it 58? But the 7 laws given to the B'nai Noach. Now, B'nai Noach, as we saw in Sanhedrin 74 and 75, has double entendres. That's why this is complicated. There's at least 4 kinds of ger, 3 kinds of Ben Noach, how many kinds of Nachri? It's very complicated. Very complicated. And B'nai Noach is the main halachic term for the 7 law halacha. As you saw, the Rambam chooses it a lot also. That is one sliver. The people involved in Noahide ben Noach are only interested in the Rambam, generally, and the Rambam is generally taking from Sanhedrin, those couple pages. Now, I've already shown you, in Sanhedrin 74 and 75, Rashi already says it's called Ger Toshav. Why not ask Rashi instead of asking me? Ask Rashi why he considers Naaman a Ger Toshav and not a Noahide. Why did the Talmud change it? I asked myself the same question. I don't know. All I can come up with is that is the answer. And it is the answer. None of it makes sense unless you get the answer. Otherwise, you have Asher Meza running around. I don't want Asher Meza running around anymore. It's ridiculous and insulting and a waste of time. All the sources are skewed, are totally off skew if you don't get Ger. That's why. You cannot learn Torah if you don't get Ger. Proselyte, right? In every source. If you want to learn Torah poorly, b'vakasha. There's a lot of people that don't want to learn it wrong anymore. Art Scroll is not right at all when it comes to this translation. They don't claim to be right. On the cover, it says an aid to Talmud study. It does not say the New Testament to Talmud study. Why did Laser Brody leave out the translation from Rabbi Arush? If it's not wrong, or if it's wrong, then hold on, fess up to it. Why leave it out? What are you hiding? Then they called me and they said, we heard you bought the book 10,000 times. We had the whole problem getting the book. They said, did you like the book in the end? I said, no, actually I didn't. She says, wait, why? I said, how about because he left out everything for the Noahides? They said, well, would you want to write him a letter and he'll get back to you? I think you guys can fill in the blanks of what happened in that story. Yeah, we're still waiting on it. The check's in the mail. So, Ger is right for, I wrote down a whole bunch of things here. I'll tell you what the Briskers say. The Briskers say, we don't care what other people think. That's probably the bottom line. That's the best one.
That's why they get along with Lodge.
The pure language, the scholarly language, is Ger. If you want to speak vulgar, it's Noahide. I don't have to speak vulgar. Again, if I learn Ger, let me ask you a question. Do you give the meat to the Ger or the Noahide in the Torah itself?
In the Torah?
Yeah, the Torah, the verse.
In red here.
Okay, you give it to the Ger. Why then do I have to say it's Noahide? Why can't I quote Parshas Rei? You give the meat to the Ger. Why must I say you give them? The Torah says you give the meat to the Ger, but it offends people, so we're going to call it give meat to the Noahide, which isn't really true because most Noahide are Nachri, which goes against the Pashup Shad of the Pasik. So if I go with the Nachri, then I should be selling it to the Nachri, and then I'm doing a mitzvah Isser Deraisa. I don't want to do an Isser Deraisa. I want to give the meat to the Ger Toshav, which is a mitzvah Deraisa. That's what it should sound like. I don't see a proof. I don't see any reason why we should say Noahide. The reason why people are saying Noahide is because, well, we've been doing it this long. So, Domino's had a recipe for 30 years. They changed it a couple of years ago. They're doing okay.
Still in this with the rest.
The language is Ger. Now, you don't. The rabbis out there don't have to call it Ger. Just don't say it isn't Ger when it clearly is Ger. I'm not saying it isn't Noahide. If I'm speaking to a crowd that doesn't know, I'm going to call it Noahide. Right? If I would have given that class to the church guys in the hotel, I would have used the word Noahide. They don't know what a Ger is. They don't know Hebrew. They have no clue. I would have said Noahide. Then they would have said, why did you call your book the Road of the Ger? I was thinking, because that's what everybody asks. And it's because it's the real name. Any questions? Let's take a break and just open up for questions at that point. Questions?
You can say, and even the term Noahide means different things in different rabbinic worlds.
That's it. All these words have a million connotations. Nachri, Goy, Akum, Ger. You know, I mean, look, Ger Tzedek is not a convert. A convert is a Jew. Yeah, that's it.
Why does the Rambam, I believe it's Rambam, he says a Ben Noach that learns Torah is like the Kohen Gadol. The Gemara says a Nochri.
No.
The Rambam talks about two different types of Ben Noach.
Yeah.
There's the guy that doesn't get
the Rambam in 10.9, Hilchos Malachim, that Ger Tzedek is not a convert. It is the Ger Tzedek Eved Kanani Shulchan Aruch 304 Or Chaim. Most places in the Rambam, Ger Tzedek is non-Jew. To which the Grease on the Rambam says in his closing words, you cannot, and this is Brisker 101. Brisker is like the Harvard of Talmudics. Right? It's like, Luke got his training only when he beat the Emperor and Darth Vader, I feel like my training was complete. When I called Russell Vachik, and just before I came, and I said, we're talking about the Brisk and Ravid, Rambam, and he was like, yeah, everyone knows in Brisk that the Ravid that wasn't arguing with the Rambam. I said, yeah, I know. How do we make this known by everybody? And he says, no, you don't understand. He's really back. He says, Brisk doesn't care what other people think.
You sound like him too.
Yeah, that's it. So that's the answer. We don't care what other people think. And I've been a Brisker for a long time. That was my training in yeshiva. I feel like once I heard it from the authentic source, a true Brisker from the lineage, now I feel like I can say, yeah, that is the answer, But he says, the Rambam cannot be taken on a superficial level. That's how you learn the Rambam. But the Rambam wrote it that knowing people would take it on a superficial level. Because generally, the academic scholar in Torah Judaism is in the base medrash and doesn't see the light of day. And the guy in the fringe deals with the fringe and they don't have a rapport. The Talmud Chacham and the Amma Aretz generally don't have a rapport. The Chiddush of, to me, God's humor in motion is that the Noahide Ger world relies on Brisker Torah to live and survive. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's like saying a second grader can't get science unless Einstein himself teaches them science. It kind of is like, it probably is the truth also. But he said you cannot take the Rambam on a superficial level because that's not who the Rambam was. So all these things that people say there's no Ger Toshav until Jubilee. No scholar in the world says that. And I can prove it to you. Want proof?
Yeah.
When I called Rav Zalman Nehemiah, what was his proof why there's no Ger today? Because he doesn't know any. He didn't mention Jubilee. He said he just doesn't know any.
That's a great source.
And then I got another proof. So then, if the answer is we don't know any, when Rav Kook instituted Ger Toshav in the state of Israel, how come nobody stood up and said, but we don't know any? Get it? No one, all these little, BS, the Chiyah Ba'almahu, no one stood up back then and said, what about the Jubilee? And we don't know any drafts. No one said that. So if they didn't say it to Rav Kook, then why are they saying it now? Makes no sense. Then Rav Eisenstein, I called him with one of my Ger questions. And I had to, play the, kind of the idiot card on him. And I said, it was a Ger Amoni, a strange kind of Ger from the Egyptian Ger, who was Moabite Ger Amoni. So the Shulchan Aruch says some Ger Amoni can marry a Mamzer, which is a Jew, and some can't. So I said, how come the Ger Amoni can sometimes and sometimes can't? And he said, well, David, today Rambam says, all converts can marry a Mamzer. And so he says, yeah, right. So he's walking right into it. So I said, So I said, wow, lechatchila? Ultimately, we should put converts with mamzers? And he's like, well,
We're screwed.
right. So so he probably doesn't get that phone call too often. Like, hey, great, let's put the mamzers with the converts. So he's like, well, I said, well, so how come the Shulchan Aruch said there was a ceremony only that didn't take on mitzvahs was with the mamzer? It's not for today. I know. How the Shulchan Aruch said, man, today they come with bedika. You check them, which means a convert. I said, okay, so there was a ceremony who didn't take on mitzvahs. He's like, yeah, but it's not like that today. Okay? Right. So I said, then I said, how'd it go? Oh, I did the story straight. So I said to him, is there such a thing as ger who did not take on mitzvahs back in the day? And he says, yeah, but today they're a convert to Judaism. So you see how there's like this dance going on. So then I said to him, again, more about ger, and he says, yeah, but that kind of ger can't marry the mamzer because the mamzer is a Jew. I said, okay, but there was this ger. It's not for today. I said, okay, but theoretically, in the past, this dinosaur existed. He's like, yeah. So I said, if I were to theoretically learn the Tanakh, how, are these Gerim non-Jews mixed in with Gerim converts? He's like, yeah, you have to know each time which one's which. Great, can you tell me? And he's like, it's not for today. So we had this little dance, and I said, okay, so he says, it's not pashut, it's not simple. Today it's only convert. So I hung up the phone, really upset, and then I realized I got this guy. What he's saying is the ceremony with the mamzer and this and that, everything today is convert. Which means, what's the halacha for the ger? The halacha is there's no halacha. You get it? That's the halacha. Huh?
So you're free.
Yeah, the ger is the answer. The halacha for ger is there is no halacha. And then, as he said, we don't learn those sources. But he admitted historically they're there, in the verses they're there, and the halacha is there, but we don't learn them. So when Noahide Nations wants me to publish in writing ger halacha, my response is, why would you want me to go against the halacha? Everyone knows there's no halacha, and you want me to make a halacha. Don't you know the halacha? See, you see, this is the rabbinic game. I can play the game. That's why I left Kolo, because I can play the game better than their game. Right? And I wanted to use the good side of the force, not the dark side. Right? But you see, you see, Rav Zalman Nechemia Goldberg and Rav Eisenstein told you the halacha. There's no ger toshav today. The Dati Lumi and the Lubavitchers are off track. We don't know any drafts. And the halacha is there's no halacha. Okay, so I don't teach halacha for gerim. We can all attest to that, correct? People say it to a fault. I say it's the halacha. Number two, if we can get enough drafts together to go to knock on a rabbi's door, they'll say, hey, the draft showed up. Then we can be on with redemption. So what's the problem?
We did that
I think we're doing all right.
See, in my show, they were drafts.
That's it. I think we're doing all right. I think Ger, this generation is doing okay.
These guys, Ger Hasidim, no, they're Ger Taishim. Oh, okay.
But Noahide Nations has on the website, it's Ger Hasidim. You saw that? They said, who was the Ger today? And then a picture of the Ger Hasidim.
Oh, the gourd.
The gourd.
I didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
I know. It's that said. My mother on Shabbos said, who are the Ger Hasidim? I said, oh. Don't ask.
You don't want to be a woman in there.
Right.
No.
Not true necessarily. Well, the famous thing.
They don't shave their head?
a friend of mine, we were on a bus. There was at a chutzor in Israel, the Ger enclave, right? The Ger Chassidim. We once saw a Ger Chassid sitting next to his wife. Once.
No, but I've seen the women.
Yeah, no, it's hardcore.
Yeah.
I think
So-
every Hasidic group except Lubavitch, they should have. Lubavitch doesn't.
The only ones I knew over in Jerusalem were the Gur.
Some. Same thing.
So those are the contemporary views of Ger. And if you notice, nobody said don't. They just said I don't believe they exist. And that's fine. If you don't know any giraffes in your neighborhood, you can't make them.
Go to Texas.
That's it. But look, they in Borough Park, they don't know any Gerim. So if the guy has a meat factory, who's he going to give it to? He sold it to Nachri. But you have to know the difference. By the way, the Shulchan Aruch says, why does the Torah say Ger before Nachri? You are obligated to at least have in mind the Ger before the Nachri. If you can give the meat, you have to. And you cannot negotiate that. It's in the Tractate of Avodah Zarah. It says that much.
The Rebbe's campaign on the Shabbat Mitzvahs is based on Laku.
What?
The Rebbe's Sifta,
Yeah.
where he inaugurated the Sheva Mitzvahs campaign, is based on Laku, saying that in a time of war, you Laku them to keep their 7 mitzvahs. You impress on them to keep the 7 mitzvahs.
Yeah.
And what he says, his whole concept is that even though you can't kill a non-Jew for not keeping the 7 mitzvahs, you still Laku them today.
Right.
Therefore, a Jewish person can tell the difference between a Nokri, a Goy, and a Ben Noach.
You're right. And so that Rashi there, that what you're talking about is 20. I think it's 10:18 or 20:18 in Devarim. It's in Devarim. It says you call out to the city in peace, right? If they don't accept the peace, you conquer them. They're slaves and they become Noahites, right? They have to accept tax, slavery, and the 7 laws of Noah. There's your classic Ger Toshav of the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 304. Rashi then says, if they do tshuva, if they lehit gayer and do tshuva, makablin them. And everybody on the planet will say, lehit gayer, what does it mean? Convert, right? Everyone will say that. Only it's not true, boys and girls. The Sivsei Chachamim commentary. You'll say, oh, well that's a Asher Meza random minority opinion. No, the Sivsei Chachamim is the standard Mikros Gedolos commentary on Rashi. Thank you very much. And then he says the following. The Lehit Gayer is Ksat Gerus. There's 2 kinds of Ger, Gior, convert. Ger Gamor, convert, and Ksat Gerus, a partial conversion, which is the same word, Lehit Gayer, to become Ger. Most people think it has become convert. This is the Shita of the Rashba, the opinion of the Rashba based on this. Lehit Gayer also means become Ger, which the commentaries on Rashi there, what Rashi meant was, if they become Ger, non-Evid Kanani, Ger Tzedek, non-Jew, they do tshuva because they simply love God. And the Jew has to know, is this a conquered Palestinian? Okay? Or is it a God-fearer? One is a Ger Toshav Akum, one is a Ger Toshav who loves God. And if he does that, that's called Lehit Gayer, the same language of Ger. And it is an explicit source that means it does not mean convert. So there's a mitzvah to conquer the world, so to speak, and bring them to Noahism. At any time amongst the conquered, or before they're conquered, after they're conquered, Israel does its job. That anybody can voluntarily be righteous. You should not have to be Einstein to figure out that you don't need to be killed to get to God. You can simply go to God. We should not be having to tell this to people. It's like saying you have to get detention to do your homework. Well, some kids actually like to do their homework. Any questions?
Hilchos Gerim, Yeridea.
Oh, and when somebody says a question, if you could repeat the question, you can simplify it, but just so people at home can see it or hear it.
Yeah.
Hear the question that people are saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hilchos Gerim, Yeridea. Start to learn a little bit. Is that all about quote unquote converts? Or will I find some good gems in there?
The Garamoni was in there. Which do you have a Shulchan Aruch here?
Well, Shulchan Aruch.
I have.
No.
No.
So the Shulchan Aruch, this thing about the Garamoni. Garamoni, if I remember correctly, it said it can marry a mamzer. So then the commentary said only a Garamoni who did not accept the mitzvahs. That's ger. That's ger. Now we don't poskin like that today because, well, you know.
So what does the mamzer do then today?
Marries a convert.
I'm glad my wife
That is why. Right there. Repeat the question. Then what does... Wait, what was the question?
What does the mamzer do?
What does the mamzer do today? The mamzer is a bastard. He is not allowed in the holy congregation of Cohen Levi Israel. The fourth house of Israel, Ger, is not in the holy congregation. Why? Is it because they're second-class citizens? No, it's because they don't have Jewish problems.
He's a product of
He doesn't have a problem with the mamzer. He doesn't have a problem the Jew has.
Oh, you're talking about the convert.
No, Gerim.
Okay.
A ger wouldn't say... A ger doesn't have a problem to bring a Jewish mamzer home and say, well, I brought home a mamzer. They don't care. They don't, exactly. They said, you did good, son.
Yeah, but
Hold on, I know. So now, because Rav Eisenstein answered, there's only convert ger today. The nafkamina in this, the how do you say nafkamina in English? Practical difference in this is, we would then give only a convert a mamzer. So if you don't have ger, the convert, as Miriam will tell you, is a different path than ger. The convert is dead set on being Jewish. That's why they're converts. So you become Jewish, and you're hallelujah, I'm Jewish. I have a great mamzer for you. It's forbidden. It's allowed.
What? But that sanctifies the mamzer, so that your children.
It's not bad. Yeah, but the ger, fourth house of Israel. Why do we call this thing the fourth house of Israel? Okay, this is not a quasi-messianic movement. And I am not a quasi-messianic rabbi. As much as I know that the things like Torah of Shem and Fourth House of Israel gear sounds very funny, I know that. It is what it is. Right? What is the reiteration of Shiva, Shem, and Aver? I didn't make it up. What do you want from me? What ger is, what the Sanhedrin is in its inception. What is the Sanhedrin? Do you guys know? Why was there a Sanhedrin made? It only existed for who marries who. Because it gets very complicated. As we know. Right? This guy had a non-Jewish father. His mother was a ger who took a mikveh one day before her 12th birthday. She always claimed to be Jewish. She did mitzvahs. Can she marry a Cohen? We don't. It's a case. So the real chachamim, the real wisdom in law, is marriage. You got to really know your P's and Q's to know who can marry who. Lineage is everything in Torah. Cohen, Levi, Israel, ger. It really doesn't get any more basic than that. What is Israel? Hold on. So, there 23:3 in Devarim talks about the holy congregation of God. And there's like 5 camps that cannot come into the holy congregation. The holy congregation is Cohen, Levi, Israel. In the Torah, you might know them as B'nai Yisrael, whereas ger is called the people. We know this distinction to be true. Right? It's the holy nation and the people. That's why there are Jewish people and non-Jewish people. It has nothing to do with better, this, that. One is holy, one isn't. Watch my shear on Jethro from South Africa that explains that concept. The Ger is a congregation outside the holy congregation. Therefore, they're called the fourth congregation of Israel, or the fourth house of Israel. Ger have a function from that place where they are. They can marry mamzer, they do a lot of things. Not just the marriage. They're just, you guys know what you can do. The Ger has a special rule. At one point in time, the Ger women married Kohen Gadol. Now, that's not done today. It was only done a small period of time. But Ger have always had a function. They don't need to be in the holy congregation. God made them as they made them, as He made them. And then you can say, well, that's not fair. I'm a Ger and I want to be holy. Well, how are you jealous of me because I'm a Cohen? Do we have a jealousy issue here? How about Chaim and I? Chaim's a Levi and I'm more holy than he is. Do you really think that's what we fight about? Well, I want to be like Rabbi Katz because he's a Cohen. Nobody cares. On those levels, nobody cares. Every Jew knows a Cohen is holier than a Levi or an Israel. And it's a non-issue. It's just not an issue. So who cares that the Ger is less holy than an Israelite? And if it bothers you, convert to Judaism and become an Israelite. The Israelite Jew convert is now in the holy congregation. Anybody can enter the holy congregation. And if you can't and this and that, there's Ger. It has nothing to do with red lines. There's a lot to being Ger. And as Russell and Michael tell you, it's Mashiach consciousness. I mean, why do we find Ger written all over the Torah? It is the Torah Shem in the Torah. It is the real McCoy.
Do you think about walking around the shul?
Two questions.
You remember that guy, my friend Shimon, that was walking around the shul? You use that to describe the function of Ger.
Shifra Hendry has a question, but it's not quite.
What was that guy?
When it's on topic. But anyways, Malcolm asks, so a Ger non-Jew could marry Mamzer, except not today, I guess, because we have no Yom.
Right. And the Geramoni in the Shulchan Aruch is the rabbinic written source on that. Remember, we don't use logic, we use sources. And there's a source for that.
Oh, I thought that was just James' thing about sources. And sure, Mike has a good mashal for Ger.
So
it happened Friday night.
Yeah, we're walking to the shul, right? And we get to the front door, and I'm standing there talking with this Jewish man that I just met walking down the street. We headed to the shul, you know? And he says, stay right here. I'm going to walk around the corner of the building here and check. It's a security thing. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I'm thinking, why don't you stay here and let me walk around the back of the shul and check on the security thing? Because that's what Esau does. He's the protector of the tent of Shem. Right. You know? And so because there's never been that aspect in thousands of years, right, he didn't know to say, hey man, would you go look around the corner for me? Right. You see. Right. I'm gonna explain that in the prophecy of Noah. 1 second. I'm running out of battery.
Yeah. You gotta. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just?
Can it play while it is charging?
No, these are not chargeable. I need new batteries.
So you actually need new batteries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Mashiach's come.
What size battery?
My neighbor texted me and said, love the shear. I hope he's not being sarcastic.
We actually have food for everybody. If you want to do food and questions at the same time.
Like, I don't know whether to believe this guy. This is...
He loves this one?
Where's my neighbor?
You already got into this. That's what I was going to bring up here.
I don't know how he...
Levels of...
These
guys can marry to each other. That's a Ger convert, I assume. Is this a Ger non-convert? That's my question. The others.
The Geramoni. Well, there's two. There's a Geramoni who is a convert. And there's a Geramoni that is not a convert.
I see. But the one on this level.
The golden rule of Ger is every aspect has at least 2 connotations, which is why it is ultra difficult to learn. You see?
You gotta be ultra careful.
There's always 2 mashmalut, 2 inclinations that can go.
And getting cool,
Right.
so
Someone's got low blood sugar.
everyone's ready to eat. Sure, those traveling really want to eat right now.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere else.
He's on my Facebook group.
You're not gonna get
I don't
anything
know
on
his name.
Simcha, I need your help.
because
I know.
it's
Too sharp.
I always want the Jew to serve you. I thought this whole Gary thing was to make you our slave.
That's the no I want.
I tell you what, you know, that whole Mumser thing, converts find really insulting.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering if you had somebody in mind. No. Converts find that really insulting. I would think so.
With other converts.
I would think so.
How you doing?
Although I feel bad for the
Oh, thanks. I'll definitely pass it around.
because it's not really their fault. It's their parents' fault.
You know, they're just retarded.
I've been drinking Torah from a fire hose for 3 days. You can only take so much. You know what I mean?
So you take notes on the sources and revisit them when you get settled down back.
Well, that's the thing. Everything that you missed
How was it?
organic.
Just write them down.
It's a lot of stuff.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
The Rav of Chabad in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
He says, I heard you bring
It's a lot of new words, probably.
Kosher agriculture.
Yeah, and he goes,
Some of them are, yes. I know a lot, but
I try using as much repetition as possible.
yeah.
In
You know,
English,
be
you
a
know.
reed,
If I say it in Hebrew, it means it's not
rain.
important, like, to get the point. You know what I'm saying?
And the son-in-law
I
says,
mean, in the end, you'll get it all in English, I hope.
Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate you
That's what it
coming.
was.
Yeah. You guys will stick around, or?
Seeds were
Yeah.
already
Okay.
in the
Okay,
ground
good.
and all that stuff, but nothing had grown because it hadn't rained. It hadn't rained. That's what happened.
I don't know how you're getting your energy. Keep going.
You know, and that's what
More power.
my wrong logic, or my wrong
was
statement,
look.
it had to do with,
It matters what
Other parts of
what
law.
we're called because it's miles away.
just like when he says, yeah, there's no problem, they do these, etc., etc.
Okay, because
I didn't ask him the source.
but the reality of what we're saying is
I'm only guessing he,
we're
There's a
here
guy in Scott singing.
to
Ari Lesser.
You see him?
Ari Lesser.
Down
Yeah.
Spot.
Yeah.
we're here to do things we're not commanded to do to grow Sheva. So you have more fuel in your tank to bring this container out. We're giving you your body.
Yeah, right.
I mean that they were so floored by everything. Lubin, you should have saw Rabbi Walter's eyes.
Really? He was kind of speechless when I got
He
there.
is ready to break whatever chain has been holding him.
Oh, really? Really?
Oh yeah. Like you could see him salivating. I'm telling you. Did you know that his second day in yeshiva, he was doing Sharkey Euclid in the big room?
Oh, no joke.
And that
Because people like it so much.
people were, it was interesting, it was new, it was fresh. Here's this young trucker, right? Who's translated his book at like, what, 13 years old or whatever it was. They were surprised by it. And Lubin, he's like, the guy on the shoulders, like, I know he's getting this. Come on, let's do it. You know what I mean? Second day in yeshiva, he's starting to give that over, and they walked in early. You know, the guy that comes in and sleeping his eyes is supposed to turn on the lights. You know, whatever it is. They shut him down. And there's been a lot of strife.
Oh, really? So he told
Over
his little story.
this. Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that's why he's been sort of
Yeah, right. Exactly.
right, and that's why he started with pair of Caleb because he doesn't know where everybody is. It's like the warm up.
Yeah, totally.
To get his steam back, to see how people respond.
And not only that, but
and see if there's anybody out there who wants to listen.
Exactly. Whoever stays, stays. I know people love it. I have the last 2 or 3 videos I still have too.
When we got back to the hotel, Mike, like, he didn't just say it. He grabbed my shoulders and looked, like, right in my eyes, and he said, that guy is like a bull.
Yeah.
He needs to be
let
off the chain.
I told him.
And he goes, if you want Lubavitch
excuse
to
me, but
understand what we're
is
saying,
it custom or
that
halacha
is the
that
man.
a Cohen should be served first?
And the crazy thing about it was, when we were sitting there,
because I did mention it to
he
the
barely said anything.
It's all right.
This
How's it going?
What?
How's the talk?
But
I'm having a great time.
the times he was going to speak, everything
I think it's
stopped.
wonderful.
There was no noise.
But it's always
You
wonderful.
could hear
I did a lot of prep on the second plane.
dead silence for
And
a
then
good, like,
Friday
6 or
night
7
we had the
seconds
most
before
amazing.
he spoke.
Yeah, I heard you got hit pretty hard. Or something.
It was amazing
It was
experience.
just-
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
People were crying.
What's there's the
It was so overwhelming. When we
have
had
fun?
Hafidallah,
Bob?
I cried.
Having fun?
That's interesting. I've got, I'm trying to understand the actual core point, the distinction
It's called
between
cognitive
what you're.
dissonance.
Well, that goes back to the whole personality code thing, but I'm not on that right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand the panemius between what it is that you're teaching and what it is as Noah's teaching.
So now you can ask the question finally.
Go back tomorrow morning.
Oh, now you decide to ask the question.
Yeah,
he
I
know
understand.
that- he knows
Is that your
that-
question?
It's
Then?
too far to like.
No, I'm
Right.
trying
But
to
formally
sort
begin.
through it.
Is that the question?
Which curiously is the same thing Cynthia's been trying to figure out.
Is that your question?
What?
What the panemius is?
No, I'm trying to sort it out.
But you-
I'm working my way around it.
What is the burning question all this time?
What?
What difference
They
does
see
it
him on the
make? I
camera.
already
They're
said
saying
Who is
hi,
that?
Miriam.
What difference?
A bunch of people.
I'm
We got about
Oh.
17 people.
Hi.
What difference?
Hold on, I got
We're waiting on Rabbi Katz.
That's not a
We're
question.
waiting on Rabbi
Did
Katz.
you
To
get
who?
the door?
To me, that doesn't make a difference. Are you asking why am I mock me to
Why
say
do
Gary?
people get so? Not just that, because I don't think the terminology is important.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the significance of any of this
How
stuff?
you doing? I guess we're
I have to teach it as Gary
Yeah. I told myself.
because I teach Gary sources.
Right, that was your answer.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Texas crowd that was saying, just don't call us like, they don't care who they go, as long as they don't get called.
Right. All I'm saying is I quote the
It's
original.
a
I
special
teach
group
and
because it's not
speak
just
in
Gary.
the original sources.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So it does not
So
serve
our
well at all to then
conversations
put it
and all that stuff
in
is
Noah
really
Because
Haidika.
someone said he has to, Rabbi has to.
Personality-wise, because we've been talking
So-
to each other
No,
on the
you
phone.
don't have to translate stuff.
Because everyone's
Online.
You leave it in the regular lingo.
Leading up to this.
Okay.
You don't.
But even if we were using that lingo,
There was a concern.
oh, there you go,
If you
yeah.
use that,
I'm hanging around. I live in Chicago.
were they going to tell anybody that any of this was going to happen? Well, you had Shabbos in Jews' home, all of us. We had 25 people, and half of them were Jews.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, we talked Torah all night, and they were
other people.
blown away, and we were blown away that they were blown
Together.
away. And yeah, it's the first time I ever saw Torah
In
He does
action.
play with it, but he
Unopposed.
prefers
Oh, yeah.
stuff like this.
in action and
You know, like with
unopposed.
wheels.
Nobody in the room was like, sitting in the corner like this.
Bob
is
wasn't
it.
there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a really
That's awesome. That's
world-
what's supposed to happen.
Now
The
I'll
world
have to wear
shook.
glass.
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah,
That's
really
great.
bad.
People were crying. They were so overwhelmed. Yeah, it was something.
That's awesome.
It was really
Water
something.
bottle?
So cool. Man, it's just like we talk about all these things, we cover all these things again and again and again, and it's just
And his English birthday was.
I don't understand confusion at this point.
Are you going to be here for the afternoon one?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay at the night.
So supposedly there are going to be we're going to have the Jewish crowd in the second part of the second part of the day. I think that's
Somewhere else?
organized. No, here.
Okay.
So the reiteration, all this right here that we're talking about, what Rabbi Katz is really here to do is not.
I think so too, but Mom,
Yeah,
it's
right.
later.
That's why he stuck it up on the Buffett tree.
So funny. I don't see a lot
months
of
ago.
my
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Getting it out there.
So what we described, he's like, okay, so all this stuff happened. I'm coming in on Sunday instead. What am I here to do? And you told him, you're basically the
So I'm from
cigarette.
Southern Illinois, very southern, almost exactly.
That's what you're here
And
to
James
do
is from,
for the
like,
Jewish community.
I would
Because
say,
all the work,
Central.
that needed to get done got done on Shabbos.
Oh, he's from Terre
They got done.
They're ready now.
We did it
Yeah.
all. Yeah, they've had the
Oh, that'll be
they've
like
had the organic.
that'll be a
You need to
pressure
help.
off of
You
him,
need to help him
you know?
come down into reality.
It's total pressure off him.
Yeah, I said that's it. That's all you have to do.
Sweet.
Because the Gerim and the Jews agreed on Shabbos to just let Hashem be in the room and lead the conversation. The work got done.
It's great.
It's done. It's over. And now it's about, okay, now what do we do? How do we replicate the Shabbos table we just had forever? How do we
Every
replicate that?
individual.
Now, was it her sister then?
Yeah.
It's just constant.
That's the thing. That's the only question. Everybody, when we were, breaking up, I mean, it was hugs. It was, here's my number. I know you can't.
So we're up high?
But you can still shout it.
Is it yours?
But it was.
You think this is okay? Fine, and electronics. Yeah. He loves glasses too.
Oh, yeah. They all.
And yeah,
Yeah, they sure do.
Because.
Buds? Do you want me to keep you a plate?
We weren't in his way. We were in our work. And that's what it works. Because he didn't feel like he wasn't there
And
to
don't have
say
this catered.
what he's saying to me.
Yeah, great
And
Chicago
because he wasn't there,
Oh, yeah, it's right down there. Mary was dying for a hamburger.
Oh,
There's got to be somewhere
they
right
have them there.
We might do that.
Yeah, his
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
looked like something else.
Oh, what time they close?
See, we're over by the hotel. We were looking online. Is there a kosher place? Cheap, no, she was up on it. So we found this place that was kosher by the hotel. So we go.
Not kosher.
Oh, it was kosher.
Oh, it was?
Shallots.
But $90 for hamburger. I was thinking the other restaurant buys
So we go
Jewish
in there
food, but
and
not
we look
kosher.
like street people. We've
Right.
been traveling for 2 days on a train. You know, we walk in and it's like, nice. But we were early. It was really nobody. And they treated us really nice. And we looked at the menus like, I have to say the lamb's only $135. You know. But we thought, well, here, she can work. Do it. We had wonderful food. They didn't have. Well, the waiter, we found out
You're
from
going
James
good.
maybe, or synagogue that they do. Okay. But you have to go to the bar. But our waiter didn't tell us. We said we came here for a hamburger. He said, sorry.
That's hilarious. We went to Shallots as a special occasion.
It was an experience. I'll tell you. You should get some good. And the food is so
Is this that first place that James talking about eating?
Yeah, they had lamb for $135.
There is a place right by your hotel that I thought you were talking about that's not kosher, but they have traditional Jewish
That's that little
cuisine.
pancake house. They have everything in there, but it's not kosher. The food is wonderful. I don't eat kosher, so I.
Right, yeah, they have great food. That's where my family always goes when they.
It's an Athenian.
Yeah.
It's all about Greeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, buds.
Well, because it was they had two. One of the menu was not over $100. One was. What's everybody doing? They have a chef. I'm telling you, the food was beautiful. It was perfect. I had chicken masala. It was to die for. As good as anything I've ever eaten. And they had steaks. She had a filet. And the other gal had horseradish.
Yes. You're gonna let her through.
I mean, it
We
was.
love to dance around your feet.
And, you know, to tell you the truth, I didn't
course.
I do kind of want to be somewhere though. Yeah.
Not only, I mean, it's kind of dangerous for everybody, really.
You know, I was telling you that.
No buds.
She said the hamburgers are really good. Great Chicago.
So you said the hamburgers are really good at Great Chicago?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've eaten there, a few years, but last I knew they had hamburgers.
Oh, yeah, but are they good?
From what I remember, but I don't remember everything I ate. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I bet Simcha knows.
Yeah, he probably does.
He said they had their money on something. He goes, "Have you got?"
I don't know if he raised money for it. He's never asked me. I mean, I know we did that when we did Shabbat. We need to put that
Do me a favor, Gloria.
Yeah.
Take a couple pictures of me, Mr. Kirk. Yeah, the tower. That's the camera there. Yeah, that's it.
And so if we can tower over this.
You know, like,
I'll be in
you know what?
for a while.
Let me get over here and you're right under that line. It's
Yeah.
trying to take our heads away.
How about that one?
Let's take it that way.
Feels good. Yeah, get a number of them.
Or change your expressions, guys. Have a little happiness. A little salsa simka.
All right.
You know what? It really is the God thing, because everywhere I meet these people who truly love Shem, it is the most delightful experience.
Yeah.
It is the most delightful experience, and I feel a connection. Whereas, you know, I go to some places, to some communities, and I would say, and there's not a connection because there's not that real zeal for Hashem. It makes all the difference. All the difference.
Well, I guess I better get a little snack. We're gonna go down. I'm gonna bring your bags into. I'm gonna bring all our bags into the foyer down here.
What are we going to do with that?
Well, Eric's gonna head on down the road.
What are we going to take a cab to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What now? I thought I heard hotel and share. Sit on.
Oh, we're not there.
Yeah, no. It won't cost as much as ours did from the train station. From the train station to the airport's not that far.
It cost us $27 to go from the hotel to here.
This
Good. That's good fried chicken.
The donations to the Garrett community that bought the food for us and the plane ticket for Rabbi Katz. So there are a few key people that are here or watching the live stream that donated in order to make everything happen.
So how much sleep did you get?
I got pretty good sleep last night because I'm smart enough to know how to do that no more. Yeah, that's what I thought he was. I was trying to
hear what he's saying.
Yeah, I slept pretty good. I know some of them guys haven't slept hardly at all. Just wasting all night.
10 hours and 72 is what we said.
Yeah.
Well, if you were at Simca's for Shabbat, you were not to sleep. Because you're going to be up all night talking about the ramifications of all this.
Well, that was something Shabbat night over there. No.
I'm telling you, and I don't think we got split before 4 o'clock in the morning. It was amazing.
It was 2 or 3 for
It was amazing. And then some goes, Mary, I want to ask you some questions. So here we went. And it's just amazing that this young man started thinking like this in high school.
Yeah, no, I didn't think of anything in high school.
Okay. He was saying that it was completely covered.
My goodness.
Yeah. South Africans.
Is that what I said that the first time when you said send me a picture and she said I hate her? We were sitting at the light and I saw the sign.
But I'm sure you can see how the whole thing has gone up. Typically, obviously, gone up when you left there.
Yes, we're telling you.
I was not going to say a word. I was going to butt out.
Working on it.
Wait, while we're eating, we're over here chit-chatting. This is live for people to hear, James?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to shut it off.
No, thank you, James.
Sorry.
Is Juliet still there?
Maybe.
Hi, Juliet.
How about Pam?
Pam has been here, yeah. I don't know if she's still on.
Okay. Hi, Pam.
Oh, Juliet says she's still here.
Wish you were here.
She says she sees you.
They can see us too.
Yeah, see, right here's the camera.
Are they going to be coming to Anita's for visit? Juliet and Javier?
Mm-hmm. Well, Javier had to check Miranda's schedule.
I don't want to
and see
leave.
if she was working or not. And I haven't gotten a confirmation from her yet.
Pam says hello. Shifra Hendry says she's being a little fly on the wall, so it's very interesting to see and hear what's going on.
I bet it's pretty interesting watching me sit there and eat this piece of chicken with a big beer.
Hey, and Shifra, I'm going to try and get to your question. It's a good question. It was just not pertinent to the Mamzer at the time, so I put the Mamzer question first, but I think yours is a good question. I'm gonna set up a new event.
Good fried chicken. I mean, fried chicken.
Chicken too. We're going to go there. Hamburger. And I would cry.
I know at least they used to have frozen under the store.
Yeah.
We don't even get that anymore. We don't have that.
better get it going, buddy.
Now you stop it when you're
Hey,
off.
hey, hey,
You know that